All right, there it is. We did it. We're starting. Episode 2, Bitter Melonians. I dub ye Bitter Melonians. Let me go ahead and pour my shot.
No, you're the true hipster.
I'm the true hipster. Fuck
yeah,
you.
man, you
Fuck
just
dude.
Bitter Melons, and now we're Bitter Melonians.
Bitter Melonians. Bitter Malone. Not to be confused with Post Malone.
Definitely not elitist in any sense of that, okay?
No, completely.
We're not our own species.
It's 10:30 a.m. San Diego, California. Taking our shot to democracy, freedom, booze, and football. Here we go, America.
Hell yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Ugh. I regret that.
That's smooth. Come on.
That's pretty smooth.
Right?
Oh, it is. It is. For sure. Damn. Okay.
Okay, let's announce our guest.
All right, yeah. For our second interview guest, or not interview, conversation. It ain't no interview. It ain't formal like that. Second conversation. It's going to be, do you want your full name or you just first name?
First name,
You can just
please.
call me by my first name.
First name, Mr. Ronnell, straight from St. Louis, East St. Louis.
Hey.
The Deep Sip is Missouri, right?
That's misery. Yeah, that's what people like
Misery.
to call it.
All right, yeah, Misery. That's where he's from. So you got any? So how you doing today?
So, I'm doing all right. How are you guys?
Doing all right.
Yeah, I mean,
Chilling.
Can you turn Ronnell's up a little bit?
Turn Ronnell's up.
Yeah.
I know you can't hear him because he doesn't have.
Got it.
So yeah.
so I guess I can open up by telling you guys a little bit about myself. Yeah, I'm from East St. Louis. St. Louis is in Missouri, but East St. Louis is actually in Illinois, and it's kind of confusing to tell or explain to people that aren't from there because the Mississippi River is kind of the state line between Missouri and Illinois, and it was a small city formed in like 1917. You know, like a bunch of people were moving from Mississippi and other very rural Confederate influenced states that were kind of not really transitioning out of, with the emancipation. Well, black people started to move north. They find work in St. Louis. It's a huge import export. I mean, we were still using the Mississippi River at this point to kind of get things from north to south. That died down when we got international, and Amazon kind of took over and you see the work there going too, because it was big. It was a big railroad and import type of city. So like East St. Louis was a city for all of the workers that worked in the city that couldn't afford to live in St. Louis.
Isn't that amazing how our older generation, they can just pick up and move?
Yeah.
Like who did that in your family? Was it your grandparents? Were your parents?
My grandparents did it first. They were born in Mississippi.
Okay, and then they're the ones that moved the whole
North,
family.
Yeah,
north.
that's who moved north eventually, probably for work. I don't know the details, but
Hey man, well I mean it must have been tough, to uproot yourself and then just move north.
Yeah, I mean I think about staying though. That must have been even tougher, because if you stay, you kind of jeopardize what you just got granted, right? Like you got these freedoms, you hear your laws being kind of told to you, but you don't get to take advantage of where you are because of the social tensions.
When did they move? Do you know?
So my grandmother was born in 1954, and she moved north when she was 12. So I would say late 60s, early 70s.
Oh, okay.
So this was literally right, you know what I'm saying?
The civil rights movement.
Yeah, exactly. So she was born before in Mississippi.
Right.
Civil rights happens, immediately has to move.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
Am I coming through okay?
Yeah, you just angle your mic like in front of your face. That's all. I know you don't like objects in front of your face, as a straight heterosexual male. You know what I'm saying? But
hey, do we have to
tap
go
into
there?
something here.
Yeah, pretend it's one of your
egg rolls.
Yeah.
Yo, you know, Vu actually hates Filipino food.
Whoa,
He
whoa,
said
whoa,
it's
whoa,
overcooked
whoa,
Vietnamese
whoa,
food.
whoa. That is crazy.
In my experience. But no. Let's go back to Ronnell, man.
Okay.
It's all about Ronnell.
Vu. I did my ancestry, man. I did it a few years ago. I'm just gonna let you know. I'm a proud 2% Filipino native.
Oh, see, you're right. He was mixed with something.
I'm 2%, bro.
it.
I'm 2%.
I knew it.
He was saying yesterday, it's like, is Ronnell mixed with anything? And I was like, everybody's mixed with something. But there it is, the 2% Filipino.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see it in the eyes.
So I fell in love with the cuisine like the first time I had it. I was like, yo, this is like food.
You felt
made
like
for me. I felt like somebody like figured me out. Like, oh, this is exactly what this guy wants.
But what about Filipino food do you like?
I mean, obviously, like the adobo, the vinegar-based chicken and pork.
Chickens.
Like those two. Like I've had super spicy adobo pork. It changed my life. It was like, cause I was a big chili eater growing up, and I ate it because it was a spicy food. And people normally put all these like different meats with the beans, and you ate it over rice or something. You know, you ever had chili chicken or something like that? So like when I first had super spicy adobo, it was like, I don't know, it was life changing. It was like, yo, this is chili done right for me at least.
No, I like adobo. It's just what are the other offerings like the dinuguan,
I mean,
those
everything
noodles,
else is pretty much like
pancit.
Pancit, sisig. That's a good one.
Okay, so I just feel like everything's overcooked.
See?
Yeah.
Well, say what you said before, dude. The last girl I was dating, everything, she had Filipino, always had Filipino cuisine on deck. And I love Filipino food and Filipino women. I grew up in San Diego. It's just like, I love Filipino shit, apparently.
Yeah.
And so when he was like, Filipino food's just overcooked Vietnamese food, dude, he even ripped on Lumpia. He's like, Lumpia is just like an egg roll not done right or some shit like that.
Whoa. First of all, there's hardly any stuffing. It's all shell.
It's all shell.
All shell.
But it's really supposed to be like a miniature egg roll. Obviously, it's based off of an egg roll, but it's like a mini one, like a Asian Chiquita, if you will. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, an Asian Chiquita, an appetizer, bro. It's an appetizer. Egg rolls, I feel like, are like a staple of a Vietnamese dish. Whereas
egg rolls are a legitimate side. Like you could order egg roll, legitimate egg rolls. You can order those on the side of
so lumpias are like chips and salsa.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Lord, okay, I've been looking at this all wrong.
Yeah.
Perspective.
But if my memory serves me, Lance, the last time you had food poisoning,
it was Filipino food. That's actually the only time I've ever had food poisoning. But also the girl I was dating at the time always got food poisoning, and I was like, wow, she must have a sensitive stomach. But then after that incident, I was like, oh no, because what she told me was she rolled up on this Filipino spot, and she's like, oh, they had squid. They never have squid, so I got the squid. And then I was like, oh, cool. But then after I got the food poisoning, I was sitting on the toilet late at night. I remember Tyler was on the, dude, it was pouring out. I woke up, I shit on myself. I woke up, I felt like a little, like something come out. I was like, oh, and I jumped up right away, ran to the toilet, and it just poured out of me. And then I remember just being, and it was happening like nonstop for like 2 or 3 days.
The show just went from G to PG-13.
Oh, absolutely. It's about to get R up in this bitch. So I was sitting there on the toilet, dude, because I know Tyler's his bedroom's right next to the fucking bathroom. So I know this man is waking up to me being like, oh, like, because it was bad, dude. And then I remember just being, at some point, I just couldn't help it anymore. It was just like, oh, and I don't know why I did this. It was like, oh, this is the last one too. It was like, it all poured out. He's like, oh, I love that chicken from Popeyes. Just to like, because I knew he was hearing me, and I was just trying to really downplay the poison coming out of me.
The poison. At least you didn't have the double dragon. You know, at least it wasn't coming out of both ends.
I've had that too in my life, and that's not good. Thankfully that time. But yeah, she got that shit. It was clearly expired. Or whatever, because she's like, it's never been served. So I don't think that's a reflection of Filipino food. I think that's a reflection of that particular restaurant.
That was just a poor choice on her end.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she sounds like it's a regular place for her. If she's like, they never have it, and then the one time they do, it's like,
yeah, exactly.
It's probably shipped.
Well, you know,
like
at this table, I'm the only one that hasn't been indoctrinated, right?
What does that mean?
Well, you guys had a bunch of Filipinos cook for you.
Uh-huh.
or many years.
No. So you have.
No.
Okay.
Oh, you guys being in the Navy.
Oh, well,
that's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the different type of cooking.
I mean, if you wanted like some special cooking, you guys had to be like, hit up the Filipino brothers and be like, hey, what's off the menu today?
Yeah. I mean,
if you had the N, yeah. If you had the N.
So I've had the experience of getting up close with Filipino food as well. I've actually been to the Philippines, I've been
see.
Yeah,
Legit,
I've been
legit.
to Sudo Bay or
Where
Subic Bay,
in
I'm
the
sorry.
Philippines?
So Subic Bay and then the capital. I can't think of the name right now.
Manila.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I spent a little time in Manila, not much, maybe 48 hours. We was just kind of waiting on a flight, got a hotel overnight type of situation. But I spent, actual time out in Subic Bay. Like I got a chance to explore. We was going north. We got to see the jungles of the Philippines and kind of get up close to the street foods too. And I mean, it was kind of the same thing, but it was like, I don't know. You could tell that it was just more flavorful food.
Right.
I feel like it's you could see that it's clearly not a first world country.
Well, I mean, I don't think that the foods here are a good representation of like
Actual
the food
overseas.
overseas.
It can't be though. It has to be like what we like to some extent because it has to sell here.
Yes. Because you can't find no chicken fried rice in China.
No.
Well, you might.
I think nowadays you probably could. Like if you go somewhere like Hong Kong, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but how was your experience there? How did the locals treat you?
So like one of the first times like I get there and we're coming through like one of the main town streets. It's not many streets out in Subic Bay. It's not many streets in the Philippines, period. Most things are dirt roads if you're not sticking to like the main city areas. It was some construction workers. Like it's like a ton of renovation going on in the Philippines. It just seems like everybody has a job. Everybody's hanging off a ladder with a belt and a harness, like either breaking something or building something. That's how it felt. But we were close to the shipyard, so I couldn't understand. But as soon as I get seen, I'm like one of the biggest, blackest guys around. One of the construction workers, no lie, hanging off one of the buildings, turns around, bro. He's hanging off by his fucking harness, nothing else attached, just him, his harness, and whatever hook is holding on to him. Turns around, he looks at me, he starts rapping Biggie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's respect.
Remember rapping Duke, the Harley Hard, you never thought the hip hop would take it this far? I was like, geez, this is...
How'd you feel about it?
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like this person doesn't have many representations of people who look like me. If I think about it in that scale, because I get to hide behind the uniform to a certain extent, right? Like I'm not just there on my own accord. I'm there for this organization. I'm there under the United States Navy Act, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of get to hide behind that, but looking at it, removing the uniform out of it, I think that this person doesn't really have a lot of representation of who I am or people who look like me. Maybe he hasn't really had interaction with us. Because if he did, he would probably not say that because he would probably want to humanize me first and not attach what he thinks I am immediately to me. He would honestly want to figure out what I am and not be like, Biggie song, you know what I'm saying? Or Kobe Bryant, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's like, I didn't take offense to it. It's like, I thought it was cool, honestly. I thought it was like,
he's working with such a shallow pool of knowledge.
Exactly. It's different. Like if I was German or something or Jewish and I went to a different country and like somebody was like, praising Hitler in my appearance or some shit, like I get to a location and they're like, hell Hitler, yeah, pointing at me, I'd be like, yo, I'd be so offended. I would be, you know what I'm saying, like so yeah, exactly. So there are worse representations of people abroad, you know what I'm saying? So to a certain extent I was kind of like, all right, at least I'm not gonna be out here like kind of getting racist, nasty terms slung at me. I'd rather get the Biggie song, right?
Who's a bad representation of black culture that they said it, you'd be like, whoa, hey. They ain't all, that ain't all of us.
I mean, it's a lot of bad of everybody, bro. It's more bad people if in any distinct ethnicity. It's more bad people in that versus good.
So
it's
choose
always
one.
that way. But don't fucking say O.J. Simpson.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? Don't call me O.J. while I'm out, bro. Like,
oh, Juice. You saw he was like Juice. Started doing the Heisman pose and everything.
or
and then
Dennis
started, like, a little
Rodman or
stabbing
somebody.
motion.
You know, like I don't want to be Dennis Rodman. Come on, man. Don't put that label on me.
He's like, oh, Kim Jong Un,
Yeah,
hey.
exactly. Like, nah. I got the wrong guy.
That's so. Yeah, man. That's very insightful. And that's crazy how you just got that off the top of your head, OJ.
OJ,
That never
he
even
knew.
crossed my mind.
Yeah, exactly. Because see, it'd be
He was
like
huge, right? He was on fucking
Yeah.
cereal boxes. He was on cards, trading cards. He was doing a lot. Like OJ was really one of those first athletes that we got for football that was like, yeah, let's ride behind athletes. Let's actually take them serious. Let's allow them to influence people. And now you get, you know, him on magazines and in cartoons and like he was big. He was big. So for like what he is today, no, I don't want to be. Don't call me OJ.
what would be that for Vietnamese culture? I've never thought about that.
Vietnamese. Well, you know the thing is like we get grouped as Chinese, Japanese, Laotian. I mean, we just get grouped as Chinese basically, right? Because
really?
they got the largest demographic. So the thing is like Jackie Chan.
Jackie Chan.
Hey.
Jackie Chan gets thrown into Vietnamese culture?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I get called Jackie Chan all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
But I thought maybe people were just being ignorant. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know
well,
Jackie Chan was like.
They are ignorant.
All right, you know what? I'm not gonna lie. One time I was at the gym and I was learning Mandarin for a little while. I need to start practicing again, but I was trying to find someone who speaks Chinese, and I was at the gym, and I approached 3 different people at the gym. Each time they turned out to be Vietnamese. After the 3rd time, I was like, okay, clearly Vietnamese and Chinese, there's something there. And I don't want to be the gym racist. So after the 3rd time, I was like, I'm going to stop asking people because like I clearly can't pick up on it. And the last thing I need to do when I go to the gym is like, that's the racist guy. You know what I'm saying? Just seeing Vietnamese people like, you know
yeah, because we inherently, I mean, China's been trying to take over Vietnam for thousands of years.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we fought off the Chinese for thousands of years.
Oh, wow.
So there's a underlying hate for one another. But, you know, I mean, we're here now. We're all the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no ill will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I hear like a lot about like intra-Asian hate. You know, like Japanese hate Chinese, Chinese hate Koreans, all this.
Yeah,
I find that so
because we all
interesting.
fucked with each other at one point, right? Japan conquered China. They came over to Vietnam, and they were there for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
You know, one thing I would like to I guess highlight with the Asian interracial like tensions going on, like it's not because it's not an appearance thing, it's a culture thing.
yeah.
In America, it's more of an appearance thing than a culture thing, I would say. I would say most Americans want the same things,
Yeah.
but how it looks is much different. You know, we want privacy, we want independence, we want people to mind their business, we want our freedoms, blah 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 blah. We kind of all want the same things, but it looks differently.
What do we want? Let's lay it out.
Yeah, what do we want?
So, I mean, even with like the last, I mean, I'm still young, 28, so I don't have a lot of experience with what Americans want. But one thing that rings true across the board is freedom, right? And how that looks in today's world of people pushing the boundaries of their freedom is, you know, the whole the things with abortion and same-sex marriage. Those are extensions of one's freedom, right? You're trying to extend what we can do with our bodies and who, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So those things are still just pursuits of freedom. That's how I see it. So like that's one big thing that we all kind of can agree on as Americans. We all want it. We all want to be free. We should be able to do whatever we want, and people should be able to mind their fucking business. Like, but when it becomes polarizing and you have many people trying to accomplish the same freedoms, there has to be a counterbalance in the social things. Like in the society, nothing just goes like unchecked.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing with once it gets enough momentum and enough people are on board, it has to be checked.
Right.
Because at that point, like, it could go crazy, right? If it goes unchecked, even if your intentions are good and everybody's on the same page, like, they could get to a spot and be way more powerful than anybody ever imagined. So the checks have to start early.
Yeah.
You know, so that's
a yin and yang.
Exactly.
I think once you get enough individuals behind something, it becomes an organism. Just like you get enough particles like concentrated into a single point in space, it enables the emergence of something that's what we might call life, you know? And I think on a societal level, I agree with you. When you get enough people into a single location, like, let's have some rules and checks. But wait, hold up. You want to take a shot without us? Bro?
Yeah.
What? I'm sorry.
Collective
Sorry.
shot.
Cheers. Shot number 2.
Shot number 2.
For them. Number 3 for me.
This is for the Bitter Melonians.
You're going to have to explain to us what that exactly is. But continue with your organism analogy.
Oh, yeah. You know, like, I agree with you. Because, like, a society is an organism at some level, and there are checks and balances, a yin and yang. You have to maintain a sort of balancing point. And I feel like the balancing point is different for every culture. And I think that's what makes it tricky when you want to live, like, under an international order, such as the modern age. You got all these different cultures, and you're trying to find a way to, like, unify the human race. Because, really, we're projected to become an intergalactic species, really, when you think about it, you know, between, like, trying to reach Mars, people like Elon Musk and everything.
I say in the next 20 years, not to cut you off, I say in the next 20 years, we will begin mining in space. That's when space mining starts, because we don't have the materials on Earth to really be an intergalactic society. So we got to find a way to get these resources. Where to get these resources. And that's really what trips to Mars and that's what all of that shit is about. Nobody's going there looking for life for real.
Yeah.
Let's look for the good shit. Let's look for the oils and the hard resources, the cruel shit that we can come pump back into our nasty ass atmosphere.
And then make money and get bitches.
Make more money, right? Speed up that whole process of the greenhouse effect. And now we really got to figure shit out.
Yeah. I mean, let's really be real about it. Like, we all know what the core... I was just talking to Vu about this last night. We all know what the core drive for all human beings is. Pussy.
Well, yeah. But I mean, like, that's...
Or dick for the ladies out there.
We only talk about half of the... Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. See, look. Exactly. So that's what I was saying the other day, man, when I was like, bro, if you could put sex before what you want to do with your life, like, if you could do that and not be distracted by sex, then, like, you're the chosen.
Golden.
You're the chosen one.
Golden.
Yeah. I would want no one else to do that job.
That's your
but
true
you.
calling.
Yeah. Give me the guy who does this job and skips the pussy.
Whew.
I'd pay for that guy.
Facts.
Because he probably loves his job.
Yeah.
He probably does something else to get off though. That's what would scare me about him. Like, he's got to have some out, right? Like, you can't just like not get that out.
Put the finest woman or male in front of that individual and say, this person wants to procreate with you. Because I be saying this all the time, too. The 2 core functions for every biological life form here on planet Earth, doesn't matter, even if you reproduce asexually, is to reproduce and survive. It doesn't matter. With human beings, it just happens to be sex. But I bet you if it was some shit like you had to clone yourself, people would be obsessed with cloning themselves. If cloning yourself meant like, oh, I got to get $1 million so I can clone myself, everybody would have this innate drive to get $1 million in order to clone themselves.
Yeah, I'm on my 3rd clone.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody would be like, wow, now that's the kind of person I want to be. That person's got 3 clones.
They're all working together.
And they're all working together. Wow.
So I can have like 10 clones making minimum wage.
Oh my God, could you?
Yeah, could you be unstoppable? 10 minimum wages.
Honestly,
in America?
Especially I mean, what's minimum wage right now? Like $15 an hour?
Yeah, like $15.50 or some shit.
Yeah, I just need 10 clones.
Yeah, there you go.
10 clones
times 10 income.
But then you would have like, not Elon Musk, but Jeff Bezos would definitely be like the empire, right? Like the Amazon would turn into the empire because he would just have a billion Jeff Bezos working the shifts.
Yeah, the fucking Archibald looking motherfucker would just be like.
You see him everywhere. You see him everywhere. You know how annoying it would be that like fucking 75% of the people I see a day is Jeff Bezos.
Right. Short, bald-headed motherfucker. Hey, no, but seriously, I wouldn't want to clone myself. Americans don't want to clone themselves. We are individuals. I mean, we fight for that, right?
Lies.
I mean, we
think
fight
we're
for
individuals.
the individualism.
We want individualism, but we
stand-
don't.
It's
Right.
questionable.
Exactly.
Yes.
Highly.
It's questionable here in America because, like, you know, Eastern world is more collective culture. I
Yeah.
feel like it's more oriented towards the us and not the me. In America, it's all about me, and it's quite confusing because, like, you beat your head on that me wall enough, and you find out you can't do it alone. And then you understand that everybody kind of has to some degree the level of independency and autonomy
there's a
you
cost
want,
to
right?
that, right?
It's a cost.
There's a cost to that.
Yeah.
If
There's
you
a
want
cost
to be
to
an
everything.
individual, you're not going to respect what other people think.
But
you know?
the cost of being
And
in
you were
collective.
saying that freedom was your number one. My number one is respect. Respect for all cultures, respect for all opinions. You know, I'm willing
Facts.
to sit here and listen. You know, I might not accept everything, but at least I know where you stand.
Yeah.
You know, we're not even doing that. You know, we're not even doing that. We're just like making quick judgments, quick biases, stereotypes, whatever. We look at someone, we think we know what they're about.
Yeah.
And that's the reason for this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, that is. Actually, yeah, that is. What is it? What would you say? Because I was trying to explain to Jalapeno, who's the shout out to Jalapeno, great artist. Met him over at the beach. Highly recommend him. Add him on YouTube, Jalapeno Miles. That's who it is. Shout out. I remember like talking to him about it, about the podcast and everything. He's like, so what's it about? And I talked to a couple of people about it, and I always forget what you said, like the whole bitter melon concept. It's like, because like, what's the sweet at the center of the bitter, or is it what's the bitter at the sweet of the melon? What's going on here?
So the bitter melon fruit, you know, just to its name, it's bitter as shit, right?
Yeah.
But it's good for you.
Yeah.
It's got so many vitamins and antioxidants and all that crap, right? It's good for you, right? I mean, I'm 50, but I look 5.
Yeah.
Thanks to bitter melon.
You're right. You look 55. Yeah. Thanks to bitter melon. Okay. No, you look good for your age, bro.
I can't wait till you turn
Yeah,
50.
yeah.
You
I
look
think
really
you
good
look
for your
super
age.
young.
Yeah, you look 40, dude. It looks pretty good.
I ate a lot of bitter melon, but no, but the
Oh,
bitter
that's what I
melon is
need.
just like, dude, we have something inside us. We really want to let people know our opinions, but sometimes we gotta be too respectful and be like, I don't want to stir anything. I don't want to create waves or whatever,
Yeah.
you know. But this is a platform where, you know, go ahead and tell us what your grievances are. Like, tell us what you really think about this issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we're getting fed this narrative from the media, from, you know, friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
But do we always agree with that? You know?
No, not always.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's good. I believe diverse, because think about it, man. Planet Earth, we're all life forms. If you look at all life forms on planet Earth, the thing that life has done in order to enable life to move forward, life doesn't give a fuck if you're human. Life doesn't give a fuck if you're a squid. Life don't give a fuck if you're a worm. It just want to exist. And it's that diversity within the whole, like, biosphere within on planet Earth that enables life to move forward. There's a reason why we life on Earth, because if we're all think of ourselves as just part of a life force, that we've been able to survive 5 mass extinctions according to archaeological records and everything, is because you were prepared for every scenario. Oh, you gonna get a comet coming at you? Boom, I got a fucking microorganism deep in the crust. I'm coming out, bitch, and they gonna be humans and they might have flaws and shit, but they gonna rock this shit for a little while. And then a fucking another comet comes like, bitch, I got mice that can fucking fuck deep in the tundra or some shit like that. This ain't going nowhere. I got what do they call them? Water bears. They can put those motherfuckers in space. They don't need shit, and they can fucking still survive. Like, life just finds a way. You know what I'm saying?
So, Ronnell, what was your childhood like?
Oh, that's a hard. That's
I mean, Lance
Speaking
is
of survival, how was childhood?
Lance is
Far
Lance
out.
is on Neptune right now.
far
So,
out.
Let's
But I love it, though.
just pull
Thank
it
you,
back.
thank you.
A little bit.
No, everyone keep that in mind. All right, so how was childhood?
Greatest childhood memory.
Greatest childhood memory.
Yeah.
That's tough, man. Like, I feel like there's so many small things that happen along the way.
We got time?
I don't know, man. Like, greatest childhood memory.
It could be one or it could be a few. There ain't no rules to it. Just like, but at least one that like when you think back, you're like, life's worth it. You know what I'm
Life's worth it.
Yeah. To keep going. You know what I'm saying? For a moment like that. If you have a moment like that. If not, I wish you do find a moment like that.
It's not that I don't have like moments to find like life's worth to keep, like for me to keep going or nothing like that. It was like my childhood was always, I remember much of it being spent looking forward into things, like not accepting the present and looking forward to what it could be always. So like there were stretches where I didn't really appreciate what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
what was happening?
You know, I wasn't in the right environment. I feel like when I was 12, I started to, I feel like most people become really autonomous at that age for some reason. Like we want to do things on our own because we find that we can solve problems. We believe that we can solve small problems.
Oh yeah,
and we do a lot of it, right? And
you got your first erection at around 10, 11.
Exactly. So now we're like,
now I'm a man.
I got my big boy pants on. I could do things.
Yeah.
I am no kid. No, but seriously, I feel like I just started. I'm the only child. So I don't have any siblings. So there's nobody younger than me, older than me. It was just kind of me. I was raised by my grandmother. There were no co-parents in the house. It was just me and her. So when I was 12, my uncle, which is my grandmother's son, right, moves in and he moves his girlfriend in the house. I'm 12. I'm like, I don't have as much privacy as I used to. I don't have as much space as I used to. And it was already like not like a good apartment. It wasn't a solid place. You know what I'm saying? It was like missing amenities and shit. Like I'm 12 and I'm like spotting this, bro. Like if I'm 12 and like noticing how much I am without, it's kind of a red flag. So that's kind of when I started to like, I don't know, just be more external, outward. I would spend more time out of the house than in the house. I would literally come home to just sleep and leave.
But what were you doing out of the house?
Oh man, I was out going to. I never missed school, right? So I would still go to school, still make all of that. But I would be out with my friends, man. We would be just roaming the streets. We would either hang out at another guy's spot, like we play PlayStation and stuff. You know what kids do. But I would be one of those kids that just stayed late, you know? Oh, everybody's leaving. I just stayed kind of late. And if people were with it, sometimes I would be with it. But, like, I would just try to, like, be out the house as much as possible, you know?
Okay. I guess that was a form of rebellion, right?
Yeah, that's
like
definitely
what was happening
a
at
form of
home.
rebellion.
So, like...
You're trying to like minimize the interaction with it, right? Like you don't want to be face to face with it all the time. So yeah, I was out the house, man. Like,
but that wasn't a happy memory,
huh?
That wasn't a happy.
That wasn't a happy memory. Okay, happy memory, right? All right, one of my happy memories.
One of those times where you're out of the house. I'm sure, right?
I'm trying to think. It would. All right, so happy memory. This is definitely a happy memory.
All right.
So this is my grandfather taking me on a fishing trip, and we go down to these big lakes in Missouri. They're called the Ozarks. They came out with a really famous Netflix show about like,
hell yeah, I love the
selling
Ozarks.
Drugs there.
Yes.
But it's really
Monday
a beautiful
Long.
place. And before I mean, it's a great story, and it's a way to put a spotlight on that place, because what it really is in actuality is a huge retirement scene for like rich white people. They buy these
shout out to the rich white people.
They buy huge properties around the lake. I mean, who doesn't want to just wake up take your boat out and just go catch a bunch of fish and drive back to your house and cook them. And like that's ideal life. Like the Ozarks have it's a ton of life in it. Like it's not just some like abandoned barren lake. It's really full of life.
Yeah.
So, and it's a beautiful place. If you guys never been, like if you ever want to go to the Midwest and you are ever in the state of misery, and you've already been to Kansas City, so you've already filled up on barbecue, go see the lakes and then dip.
I like how
nothing else.
You drew it back to like out in nature. You know what I mean? Just fishing, just being out in nature. Nobody says, "Oh, it was that one time where I got the highest score on I don't know, whatever video game was hot at the moment."
Nah.
Or like I got like 5,000 views from a TikTok video I made. That was the highlight of my life. No, you bring it back to like nature, something simple. I love that. Because I'll tell you one of my childhood memories was my friends were trying to teach me how to ride a bike. And we had this old rusty bicycle, 10-speed. I could barely touch the pedals, right? And they're like, just kind of maneuver the handlebars, just kind of go back and forth, but not too much, and just try to be solid as possible. And they're like, we got you. We're behind you, just holding you the whole way, right? So they're pushing me, and I can feel them, kind of pushing me. I hear their slippers, their flip-flops, plap, 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 running behind me. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, I stop hearing the slippers. And I'm going down this steep-ass hill, And I turn around. Ain't no one behind me.
Keep going. You're okay.
Like,
watch out for that car.
You got this. Yeah. But yeah, I made it down that hill. I went up the hill on the other end, and that was a great childhood memory.
You felt amazing, right?
It felt amazing. I was like 7 or 8.
Yeah, that's a good experience. Yeah.
Yeah. But I like to take it back to then, because we didn't have to have all these stressors of life where, oh, you Asian, you gotta act this way. You black, you gotta act this way.
Oh, you this age, you gotta act this way.
Yeah.
Oh, you make this much money, you gotta act this. It's like it's so many boxes that come with responsibilities.
So many boxes, so many checks for those boxes. What's funny though is oftentimes we romanticize childhood, but like, let's be real, childhood can be stressful too. Because, like, you're just, like, in your rawest form, man. Everything, like, something like your parents say you can't have that candy bar just feels like the deepest, fucking most painful piece of rejection you'll ever experience in your life. Because you have no other reference point. You know what I'm saying? You think the worst thing that could ever happen is, like, your parents are like, oh, you can have no candy bar. If you're lucky, that's your worst pain in childhood and everything. But if it's something much deeper, that shit's going to stick with you for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And...
What do you think is the differences between being told no about that chocolate bar as a kid versus an adult though?
Oh, you done already been through the fucking ringer. You know what I'm saying? If somebody tells you no to a chocolate bar, you're like, whatever, because like you already got no because someone walked out on you on your like wedding day or some shit like that, or like no because like some woman was like, nah, this ain't gonna work because of like these complex slew of issues, or like no because you got fired from a job. No, you know what I'm saying? You've already experienced so much rejection. If you're a human who actually puts themselves out there and like subjects themselves to potential failure, like when you finally get to that point, no again for a chocolate bar is different from when you're a kid, because when you're a kid, it's just like all fresh and new. So that sensation that's built into us for like what we perceive as rejection, it's just like 1,000 times more painful for like the simplest thing. But by the time you get old enough, you're like, that ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? I do believe there's always something more. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the only extreme I can think of that's like probably hard to top is like surviving the Holocaust. But even there's people who survived the Holocaust who like came out of it being like, life's still beautiful. If you can get through the Holocaust and be like, life's still beautiful, then that chocolate bar ain't shit. But that's something you gain with, I mean, typically it's with age you gain perspective, but not always, because some people were children when they fucking survived that sort of particular situation, and so they were exposed to it much sooner, and some of them were capable of developing a psychology that's able to cope with such, feelings of like rejection and ostracization or whatever fucking made up word I want to make. You know what I'm saying? But like,
I mean, I understand. I understand what you're saying. I think the next question I would ask, like after like the differences between like an adult and a child being told no, is like the next layer for that emotion we're experiencing. It is raw. It is definitely the most
raw, no
truest
condom.
form of our ID, the id, right? You guys ever heard of that? Like it's
Vaguely.
it's the identity we get when we're born, and the only things we can communicate to anyone is I gotta eat and I'm uncomfortable.
What was this called again?
Id. The id.
How do you spell it? ED?
ID. It's the ID. One of those. I mean, Sigmund Freud basically wrote the Bible to psychology. It's something that he expresses. He done a lot of work with kids, and he wanted to find out how personality develops and through what months, and what he died it down to the first 36 months, which is accurate because the brain grows. The brain grows the most during that time, right? We get the most amount of brain growth. Our brain still grows after, but not to that magnitude. Like the real core traits of the person is formed through those small interactions between the parents. So like if you can close your eyes and think back to just that moment when you just wanted to eat, that's all you wanted to do. You didn't care about what temperature it was, what you had on, nothing. You don't see. All you want to do is just eat. Everybody has that as a kid, and we communicate that to our parents in much different ways, like many different ways, depending on how our parents react to us. Like if they let us just, be hungry for hours and hours and then come feed us, we get that interaction with our personality shapes us at later points in our life. But it's just really hard to gauge because we don't know which ones are important, which ones are key, and which ones aren't. So you just try your best to be the best parent. Just be there all the time and don't worry about when is the best time and blah, blah, blah. But it is very key parts that happen, But I'm going back to what Lance was saying, being told no as a kid, you really get that raw reaction, like that raw emotion without any second thought. Two things I would say on that is, as a kid, you really can't be Sonder. You really can't contextualize that this is another human being with thoughts and emotions just like me. That's out the window. We're completely self-centered. Our brain is just not there to even be in that mind to truly consider someone else. You know what I'm saying? To truly be there. You can't do that as a kid. And then understanding why this is happening. I feel like that's another big element of it, because if we understand why this is happening, I feel like even as a kid, you kind of get a different reaction than that raw flip out. No, you just told me no for nothing. Yeah. You just told me no because you're this person. Yeah. You just told me no. Yep. Versus you understand why. Look, Jake, we eat lunch at this time at 3 p.m. every day. You're asking for snacks at 2. Why are you out of routine? Now he's not going to be, he's right. He understands that. He's going to be more prone to like reacting like, all right, I could just wait.
Yeah. Right. Because as a kid, you have a singular drive.
Exactly.
And everybody around you is the support. Just like everyone on Earth is like NPCs, right?
Yeah, they're NPCs. The only they're NPCs. Yeah.
I mean, our brains are not wired that way as a kid, and it shouldn't be, But I mean, like, that creates habits, and I mean, it depends on the parents, right? Like the parents will totally shape you. I mean, I'm a parent, and there's a lot of things that my parents did I did not like. But then as being a parent, I picked up a lot of those traits.
Because they work. They were natural reactions.
And, they might be frowned upon by the popular culture and everything, but like, and when he becomes a parent, maybe that degree will lessen as it has with me. Like if I said my dad was 100 on the strict scale, I'd be a 50. Maybe Tyler would be a 25. You know what I mean? So on and so forth. and then the pattern will repeat itself.
Yeah.
My great grandson might be a hard ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He was too soft. My pops was too soft. I had to harden up.
What did you say the other day? Soft times create soft men.
Right,
Soft men
right.
create hard times. Hard times create hard men.
Yeah.
Hard
Shout out to
times
Joe
create
Rogan.
soft.
Yeah.
It just the cycle keeps continuing. But I feel like it's value at every level, right? Like there's something to take of. Like none of them are better than either. Like there's times where being soft is going to be more opportune, and there's times where being hard is going to be more opportune.
Absolutely.
It's on us to discern when to do them. But if you just live a soft life, you're going to be more prone to soft opportunities,
Right.
and you're going to take advantage of those. And if you live a hard life, you're going to be more prone to hard opportunities. And you're going to take advantage of those. But there's still space to be soft
And
in
the
the hard
parent's
life.
job is to balance it.
It's
you
supposed to.
know, sometimes
Yes.
you give the hard no and you don't give a reason why. Sometimes you give the hard no and you're like, well, son, this is what's actually going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's our job to balance that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's because apparently a lot of people don't grow out of that.
Mm-hmm.
They feel upset. Whenever they go through life, they get that no, it enrages them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and we have problems.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because of bad parenting.
Mm. I think the duality between parents and child is funny because on one hand you got this person that can only consider themselves, and on the other, they're the only job of this person is to consider this other person.
Hey man, don't let that stop you from having kids. Though.
No,
You
no,
plan on
I
having
think
kids?
it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. I don't think children are a bad thing. I definitely want kids.
Oh,
I
yeah?
just think that duality is just funny because it's still two humans. You know, the age difference is there, but it's still two people, and it's a relationship there, and it's one to be looked at like any other relationship in our lives. It's still a interaction there between two humans. Like one of them is only considering themselves, and the other is only considering that person.
Right.
And until the shoe is on the other foot, you can't understand it. But I'm extremely imaginative, and I try my best to be empathetic to people because I have close friends with children. So I really try to consider their situations and the things that they might be like confronted with, the things that I would be confronted with as a father in this world, trying to navigate raising another male or woman, you know. And just like that whole, it's not easy. So like Mother's Day's next week, Father's Day's a few months on. Like it's coming up, like the parent appreciation time of the year. It's there.
Is that time of the year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
It's
gonna
that
get
time.
a new tool.
You're gonna get a new
Tyler,
bottle
you're
of,
listening to this. What do I need? Let's see. I need a rotary cutting tool. Milwaukee, I think it's like $99.
Bro, he gonna give you a spatula from the 99-cent store. That's how Tyler rolls. You did a good job.
No,
He'll be careful with his
This
money.
is how Tyler rolls, man. Like he'll find out it's Father's Day. Like when is Father's Day? It's like May or June.
I think it's like
Okay, so he'll find out the day of, and then he'll be like, "Happy Father's Day, Dad." He'll give me like a weak side hug, and then he'll be like, "Oh, your present's in the mail," because he would go to Amazon and order it that day.
yeah. Well,
It's okay.
It's okay. At least,
yeah. You
but
see,
at least
good
it's
parent.
there.
You accept who he is. You ain't taking it personally.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I mean, kids, their brains aren't fully wired until their early 20s.
Yeah. You
I mean, how are you
kinda
going to expect an 8-year-old to be empathetic? You know what I mean?
But they are when they are. It's so cute.
Exactly. Exactly. Because some of those neurons are working.
You don't understand this, but it still matters so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they understand when a pet passes away or something like that, but they don't understand like the hardships of you going to work and like your boss is treating you like shit.
But they
you know?
understand. But they don't understand your shitty ass look and your sad face and your emotions, and then they'll react to that at that point. And then it seems like they understand everything, right? It seems like they understand what's going on. Like they were there when your boss was kicking your, you know what I'm saying? But that's why kids are like a good thing, I think, because you get that the peaks and the valleys of what it is to be a human. You get the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows.
I mean, that's when you really understand unconditional love.
Yeah.
Well,
And for my childhood at least, I experienced it, but I also experienced the conditions of the love. Like, it's unconditional, but like nothing, everything had like.
But it's conditional.
No, it's not that the love itself is conditional. It's that where the love is happening,
Yeah.
how it's happening.
Yeah.
That's the conditional part.
Yeah, because given your environment, it makes it easier or more difficult to love somebody, right? Because even if you love them deep in your heart, it's just like there's certain factors or certain things going on where it's like it's making it extra hard. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
For
like,
instance, if you're like a human being that's been through a lot through their own childhood, which is super common, dude. I just met this dude at the beach the other day, 75 years old. He's opening up to me, and he's still talking about like his birth father abandoning him. You know what I'm saying? He didn't know at the time that I myself, don't know their birth father. Shout out to daddy issues out there. Hashtag daddy issue nation. You know what I'm saying? But like 75 years old. I mean, he didn't seem super upset about it necessarily, where he's breaking down and all that shit. But still, at 75 years old, I'm sure his parents have passed at this point. He's like, I can't believe this motherfucker didn't pay child support, then showed up the day after he was done paying, like he was supposed to pay child support and be like, I'm your dad. Isn't that some bullshit? And then I was like, yeah, daddy issues. You know what I'm saying? I got daddy issues too. And it's like, but then you start thinking like, I wonder what was happening at that time for his birth father to like be in such a situation where he felt he couldn't meet the obligation of taking care of another human being. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with you. Love is unconditional, and that's what's the fucking tricky part about life is like even if you do love something, perhaps it's not good for you. Not to say that like, walk away from your children and shit, you know what I'm saying? But like that's the complexity of like that particular like that sort of situation. Like there could be some sort of like factors that are like even just imperceivable to everybody outside of that person. Like for instance that old man's fucking pops from back in the day and shit. And it's like it's as you get older, not to say like you forgive him and everything, because even with my birth father, I'd be like empathetic at some level. I'd be thinking about my mom's situation, be like, yeah, I could see why like maybe 21, 22, 2 kids, townie.
It was a lot for him.
It was a lot, she's emotionally unstable, you had unprotected sex multiple times for whatever reason. I feel like you should still be held accountable, because that's just how it should be, you know what I'm saying? But at some level, I can see how there's certain conditions in place that make the unconditional tough to abide by through thick and thin. But that's why it's so beautiful when you finally meet an individual for however long it is, you know what I'm saying? Because time is also one of those conditions, I feel like, where you're able to experience that. Because once you do, then, things like being a father or a mother or a lover, they you can really get the rewards from them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So how do you feel like with your situation? Like how do you feel like that played out? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I feel like, with my dad and my mom both not being there, I definitely missed out on a lot of rewards, especially in the parent department. But I recognized I wanted to like not be one of those people who are 75 years old still kind of looking at their lives saying, why didn't this person do this and why did this person do that?
Yeah.
Again, I'm the only child. I get this autonomous bug very early in my life, and I start doing things and becoming very responsible for myself young. I think those two things, me knowing that I don't have my parents in my life and I'm seeing all these kids with their parents coming into school, career day, parent teacher conference, picture day, blah, 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 blah. Like I'm seeing how different my family situation is, and like just how, you see it. Like as a kid, you don't understand the gravity of it, but you definitely see it. That like, hey, I'm not like these other kids. Like I see your family structure. My family's not like that. Does that mean that all families are like? Does that make you? Do you feel that, or do you see that as a sign of rejection, or do you see that as a sign of, like, I'm different and that's a good thing? I think that's important as a kid, because if you see it as a sign of rejection, you're probably going to carry it as being shy and being kind of like not so willing to open up around other people, you know, because you don't want nobody to know, because you kind of like, if more people find out about this, I'm gonna be more rejected and more people going, you know. So I kind of was one of those kids that was like, oh, like this is my situation. And it was surprising to me how many people were open and empathetic early. Like they were like, oh wow, like that's crazy, man. Like, shoot, well, all right, you know, like they were kind of more accepting to it when I wore it on my sleeve. And I got a lot of good friends at a young age that way. You know, when I was around 14, 15, that's when I really started to stay away from the house. And I eventually moved in with my best friend's mom and his whole like setup. So my best friend, shout out to Josh, shout out to his mom. You know, God rest in peace. God bless her soul. Very strong woman.
Rest in peace.
She died very young in her life. She was 42 when she passed away. She had epilepsy. But there's this woman who's also a single mom, right? She's got 4 kids. Oof. 4 kids, single mom raising all of them. And I'm the third child's best friend, you know, and we spent a lot of time together. We would hang out, play a bunch of video games and stuff. She knew that I wasn't a bad kid. It was more, if anything, her son was a problem. My best friend was more of a problem than me. I was the chosen one that she was like, you need to hang out more with this person because you hang out with these other boys and I don't see it going right for you, right? So she was kind of like, yeah, you need to stay with him because he's kind of like more quiet. He's like, he's still a boy, but he's not out here like trying to beat people up, you know? He's not out here because it can get bad, man. Kids are terrible where I'm from. So like, you know, that was happening and we spent a lot of time together. So like eventually it got to a point where I was staying late. We played video games all night, wake up, go to school, and I would start going back home. It would just become too much of a transportation problem. So sometimes I would just bring clothes and be like, yo, I'm just out on this side of town for 3 days this week, you know, I'm gonna be at your house, and it would be cool. But his mom was at first resistant to the idea that this person that she's not responsible for spending this much time at her house, sometimes even eating her food. Yeah. But then she understood my situation when we finally got to know each other, because now I'm just, you know how it is when you got friends as a kid. You're not really cool with their parents. You might meet them once or twice. They might feed you. They might, you know, bring some pizza one time, but they're not like in your face, like trying to teach you math or nothing like that. Yeah. So like I really get a chance to know her and understand her, and she's like, oh wow, like I didn't know this was going on in your life. I didn't know these people weren't here for you. It makes sense to me, like why you are doing these things, why you like not at home much, and why you like, you know, just kind of like keeping it, because you know it's not people. Look, kids don't go away from their families. Kids want to be home. So it's very rare when you see kids that don't want to be home. You have to like really kind of pay attention to them, because there's something there. It's a fucking fire there, bro. Like everybody wants to go home. Yeah, exactly. So like she was really accepting. She brought me in. She was like, all right, well, at the time I was like 15, and she had like an extra space at the house. So I had like my own room and stuff. It was really nice. Wow. Coming from like sleeping from a couch at my grandma's to like, you know, having my own room at my best friend's house, you know, big difference. Game changer for me late, because I'm a, you know, young teenager at this point, 15. We start thinking about, whoa, what can I do? Where am I gonna go? You know, you're sophomores, maybe freshmen in high school. You really start to take on like who you are. Like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, yo, my situation is fucked. That was one of my first thoughts, bro. And it was my first fucking thoughts. I was like, I'm fucked. Like,
you finally got to relax about survival, and you're like, oh,
I'm fucked, bro. I'm so fucked. But still being a kid, still being that young, you still really don't understand how fucked you. I'm still learning out how fucked I am and I was, and I can always think about those things. But I don't want to be like so caught up in it where I'm victimizing myself, and all I can see is the things that I didn't have, you know, like I'm using life as like, oh, you just fucked me the whole time.
But that shaped you, you know? That shaped you.
It's a good shaping point, but like it's important to like Lance was saying earlier with the child and the no reaction, right? That was life kind of telling me no, right? Like I was already the kid who was the only child who most times when I was told no, I had nobody to like freak out on or freak out with or watch even freak out properly. I didn't even know how do you freak out? When I first cried around my fucking cousins older, they're like, "Why are you crying like that, bro? You don't even know." Like people pick up on that shit, right? You watch other people cry and you cry that way. Like you watch other people laugh, or you might hear other people laugh, and you hang around them long enough, you start laughing like that person. Yeah. It's like one of those things. So I was like, yeah, bro. I found out a lot by myself early. So like when I realized how fucked I was like, yo, I gotta just leave. I don't see this place being fruitful for me. Like I don't see which decision I can make here that would like lead me to a better life, to a better environment, to better choices. So like, I mean, I started setting myself up to like go to college. Like I really believe that me going to school first would be great. But again,
who put that idea in your mind that college was a good option?
I would say it was not a person more so than the fucking engine, the system, right? Like I'm a kid. There's nobody in my ear teaching me how to do a trade, what businesses, how to do anything, right? So I'm really like fending career. My grandmother never really had a real profession. You know, she would do nurse work, but unlicensed nurse work, and it was before there was like this huge medical transition where everybody needs a fucking license to do everything now. You need license to draw blood. You need license to be CPR. You know, it's like crazy now, but my grandmother, she came up in an era where like, if you could do a job, you could do it. So she would do that, you know? She didn't have a lot of employment knowledge to give me. Especially as a young man, like we need that. We need to be busy. So I got into sports and stuff only because my friends were in it. And I got to participate in teams and get that type of, I guess, work ethic, but I really didn't know what working was because nobody really showed me. So I wanted that, and that's what I thought I would get out of college. Like they would teach me how to be like employable, how to be lucrative, how to go out here, be a person, gain skills, and go make money. That's what I would say got me into college, like what the idea was behind it. And I found out how broke I was once I started applying. Once I started applying and started sending those tuition numbers back,
that's Lance's
I was like,
life story.
Yo, who the fuck is paying this? So funny, dude. First of all, like, I was like, yo, I mean, I'm not a dummy, but fuck, $23,000 a year? Where is this money coming from? I don't have a job. Ain't no parent with no trust fund sitting around just like, yeah, haha, like, have a good time at school, don't worry about nothing. No, it was more like go fucking dig your own grave. That's what it felt like. So like senior year came around, man, I didn't know what I was gonna do, to be honest. Like I didn't know where I was gonna go, didn't know what it was gonna look like. Take an ASVAB test on the whim, never studied for it, never planned on going to the military, never even was like, I'm going to the military, I'm going to the Navy. No, it was like one of the ROTC program instructors at my high school. He was a black dude, was real personable, really real, relaxed, and you could talk to him. And I seen him in his special like ceremony uniform one day, like in senior year, and I asked him about it. I was like, what you about to go do? Fight a war? About to go fight in the white man's war? I was super revolutionary at my senior. I was feeling like real suppressed by like, my environment and like what I saw on TV and I was really starting to like add it up. Like, oh, these motherfuckers got me fucked up. They done killed JFK. They done put a crack in our communities. I was really the third eye was starting to peak, if you will. It wasn't open. It was just it was a slither. It was a crack. I was starting to peek at motherfuckers.
Hey, no racial jokes. No racial jokes. I know what you're thinking, Lance.
Hey, whoa. That's your son. Oh, shit, dude.
So you felt a lot of anger around that time?
Sure. Not anger. I just felt the need to do something. Right. I just wanted to do something. I wanted to change something, and I didn't know how that would even look like. So I meet this guy, you know, he told me, hey man, we got testing going on this day. You know, what we usually do for testers is we give them some snacks, we introduce them to the instructors, they'll all be from the military, and then we send you home. This test happens at 9 a.m. and you'll pretty much be released for most of the day. I was like, yo, I could take this bullshit ass test, go to the Y, go shoot some hoops with my homies, man. It's about to be a good day. Yeah. I'm feeling it. And I go there, I'm like, man, look, these big ass motherfuckers. Everybody's super huge, super jacked, tatted up, walking around like, I'm fucking blah, 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 from the United States Marines, United States Navy, United States Air Force, United States Army. I'm like, yeah, whatever. We get through all of that, and I take the test, literally like Christmas tree fashion, like boop 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 boop. I didn't even really read all that shit, to be honest. Yeah, like I didn't really consider that this would be a test that could change my life, and it ended up doing just that. Cause like a few weeks after graduation, I get contacted by a recruiter. He's like, hey, you know, FC1 Peg, and we got your ASVAB test results back, and it looks like you scored a 71. So what we're going to do is we're going to offer you a chance to be in America's Navy, the greatest Navy in the world. Is that something that you would be interested in? And I'm like, yo, I don't even have money. It's senior year, everybody's putting together plans and going places. I'm like, damn, yo, I think McDonald's turned my app down. I think they just went with somebody younger who they could snap the whip harder at. And I don't know, man. I just pushed the button. I said, yeah, I'm interested. I'll hear you guys out. One step led to another, and he fucking walked me down into the worst job you could possibly accept. I mean, and part of that was on me because I wanted to leave. It wasn't about the job for me. It wasn't about, oh, I want to do this in the Navy. I didn't have a fucking plan, bro. I didn't know. Like, I was like, I want to go now. Can you get me out of here now? And he was like, you know, you graduate this day and you turn 18. So really, I can only get you out of here in the next, it's going to be at least 4 months. So I had 4 months after graduation to kind of just be free and be me and try to figure something out before this day that could possibly keep me here. Give me a reason to tell this person I don't want to fucking go fight in nobody's war or put on nobody's. I didn't find that reason. Yeah. So I left. So I was like, gone, you know?
That's how you know there's nothing there.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm better off going die somewhere I don't belong. Because I could just die somewhere where I don't belong already.
I remember this conversation I had, and this was like and this is probably the conversation that even like allowed me to be open to the idea of being in the military. I remember being one of the few conversations I had with my uncle. So my grandmother has 2 sons. They're twins. One of them has passed away at the age of 34. Yeah. The other one is incarcerated. He has been for the last 13 years. I've been in close communications with him. For what? It's not aggravated battery. It's like assault with a deadly weapon. So he used a legal weapon. He actually shot someone, and that person. It's not an attempt murder, but it is a very violent charge. So you get the violent. You don't get a normal felony when you get a violent charge. You get they call them. I forget what they fucking call them. It's a different type of felony because you got white collar felonies like embezzlement, shit like that. But then you have violent crimes, and those are considered the highest of priorities in the prison system. So he got 15 to life was the original sentencing, and then he went through the whole trial period, and he got 14 years, and he's at he's at year 12 now. But I had a quote. This is way before this happens, right? So he tries to relocate me from the East St. Louis to up north to kind of get me out of the environment. And I was going way better school, you know, way better system. I felt like, yo, this is way. I feel like I have an opportunity here. But while I was up there with him for like no more than 5 months before he commits this crime. And I have to leave and go back home. So I get back home senior year and I'm just like, well, what the fuck do I do? That's really the emergency I had behind pushing a button on the military. But before all that happens, I'm sitting on his porch with him and he's asking me what I want to do, what I want to be. One of the first things I tell him, like, oh, I would like to be an architect or like a civil engineer or something. I want to be responsible for building things. I was super into building things at that time. It was a combination of that and art, I guess. I fell in love with just blueprints and just watching how people took things from paper to real life, But I didn't understand how much money that would cost and where that money would come from. And he was really trying to tell me, like, make me aware then, like, yo, that's going to be expensive. Not in a way that's like, you can't do it, but in a way that like, hey, there's more to these dreams that you have than just these dreams. And that's when I was really starting to consider like how much things cost and how much what could I do to meet those costs? And when it came time for the Marines or the Navy to kind of pressure me into a position, I was like, yeah, bro, this is something I can do to get to that level.
Yeah, they threw you a lifeline.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
I don't know. Listening to that, it makes me sad. I mean,
Sorry.
I mean, I guess at my old age, I'm just more empathetic.
Let's take a shot. Let's take a shot.
Yeah.
Perfect time for a shot, folks. I mean, I feel like it's not that sad, man. Look at you now.
But
exactly
at that moment in your life, it must have been so frustrating and like I'm all alone. I gotta make all these big decisions. That's why you pour on the other end.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't realize that.
You looked at the plastic.
I didn't
look at all that.
Fuck y'all, bro.
If you're trying to hire an electrical engineer, don't hire Lantz.
Definitely, it's gonna
he only got the label.
Yeah, I know. I was talking about being a bartender too.
No, it just contrasts so much with my life, But it's great to hear.
Yeah,
I need to hear this. Everyone needs to hear this.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure at that moment when you're 15, you felt like you were the only one in the world going through this scenario.
Yeah.
When you can throw a rock and hit like 5 other families exactly in your situation.
Yeah. And that's kind of the reason why I didn't want to be. And look, I'm not trying to offend anybody here. This is just my mode of thought. This is my mode of thought that got me from. Oh, cheers.
Cheers to overcoming adversity.
Yes. I'll tell you why in a moment. The mode of thought that got me from that position in my life to here is literally I didn't want to be a bitch. And I say that because in my life, I've always looked at people who use their situations and held them crutch to be in the position or to stay stagnant in whatever they're experiencing with their life, whether that be depression and things happen to people, and I understand that more than I'd like to, because a lot of things has happened to me, and in those moments that things were happening to me, all I wanted was not only for someone to listen to me, but I wanted a way to fix it, right? Like I wanted to change, and I didn't know how. That's what I struggled with. I never had the tools to. If I knew how, I would do it myself, but I don't know how. So all I can do is sit here and literally kind of deal with it. I didn't want to be that person because I knew I was witnessing people who were in my neighborhood 25 years, 30 years, 45 years. They never did anything with their life.
Yeah.
That fucking scared me. And I would talk to these people young, ask them like, oh, what's kept you in East St. Louis? I've been to Chicago. I was so happy to tell people I went to Chicago. It was big for me because I was like, I didn't travel much. And I would talk to other people to see where they travel, and not much. Not many people even leave this 30-mile radius. Yes. It's crazy. It's scary to me. And I really started to feel trapped. And I started to feel like, I don't want to use this place as a reason to stay. Like, no, I want to use this place as a reason to go. Use this place as a reason to see everything. If not, why? Why would you be like, oh, my mom and my dad was, they just decided to dump me in a trash can, so I'm just gonna stay in this trash can. You know, it's just like it just makes. I didn't like that, bro. It made me feel. I didn't like being around miserable people because I felt like it kind of could rub off on me. So like when people would just be like, "Oh yeah, I had a bad day," you know, like this happened, that happened, life sucked, blah blah blah. I'd be like, "Yo, I don't want that around me," and I would kind of see like how that mentality carried into all of the person's actions. Like, it wasn't just an emotion. Yes, it's just an emotion that they're expressing, but it's also a reason for them to give minimum effort to everything else.
Yeah.
And it's painful because they don't see how much that really is affecting. It really is the cycle and what's increasing the momentum of you feeling this way. Because the more you think about that, the less energy you're dedicating to the things that could possibly change it. And now, you know, you're just on a downward cycle. I felt like that was the defining word for bitch for me. Because now you're saying to the world that this is happening and things are going bad because this is happening. So I'm going to just allow them to become worse. Even though I mean, we're grown now. I mean, I feel like people like to say you're an adult, you should be able to do things. But one of the real reasons I think separates adults from children is the ability to take what's hurting you and learn from it. That is because it's not really something, it's not a failure, it's not a loss or something to like mourn if you can learn from it. If you can learn from it now when it comes around in your mind, because it will, especially if it bothers you and moves you emotionally, it's going to be on your mind and it's going to provoke other thoughts. But if you when it comes up, if you can think about the things that you can learn from it and take from it in a positive way, now you shift the emotions that come about when these thoughts come about. It's a cycle, man. Like if every time you think of a traumatic experience, it brings about pain, you will have a painful, traumatic experience every time you think about it until you're able to put that trauma and contextualize it in a way that you can learn from it, things to gain from it. Look at but some situations it's very hard to do that, right? You lose a child at a very young age, you can't explain it. Yeah. What do we do? You can't explain this pain. No.
Yeah.
But you're not the first person to lose that, to take that loss, and you won't be the last person to take that loss, and you're not the only. And it's very hard to get out of it because you're going through it. But there are still things to be learned from it, and there's still things to take away from it.
So, you know, when you say learn from it, I think we all learned, you know, if we create an action, we expect a reaction. Mm-hmm. And so we're learning from that. But does our behavior always change from that? You know what I mean? I think that's a problem. We all know better sometimes. Mm-hmm. Just like, let's just take an example of drinking. You know, if you drink too much, you're going to get hungover. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm like, I learned the fact that I don't like hangovers. Mm-hmm. But your boys call you up next Friday, and guess what you do?
Get drunk.
Did you change your behavior?
No.
Exactly. So, like, we pick and choose what behaviors we want to change, right? Like, we know a lot of things is bad for us. Do we change are we adapting and changing our behavior? Are we evolving? Sometimes we don't.
It's tough because, look, man, we all have ailments. We all have our little mountains we're going to die on. We can't sit here and say that, you know, we could break everything down to like a good or bad situation.
At your age, 28, I had a lot of mountains. Now I'm like a Perry field.
You're flat, you know, down no hills.
Flat like my ass. I am flat like my ass. You need a straight line, motherfucker? Measure my ass.
Shoot, man. I don't know, man. I feel like I try my best to just be open-minded and like not lock in on one particular right or wrong.
You know, that's crazy because when I first met you, very reserved, I was like, I think this fool's got like both parents, you know, very respectful of others. So when you're telling me your life story, I'm like, I'm an idiot. 49 years old. I still can't read people, you
Yeah.
know, from like a few interactions and stuff like that.
It's
And-
hard to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we all need to talk, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like communicating has dwindled down to like 20 seconds on TikTok. That's how we communicate now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Well, honestly, I feel like there's some things that can be said in 20 seconds on TikTok.
well, that's
And
true.
there's some
Like,
things that can't, like this conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. How you gonna condense someone's whole entire life story in 20 seconds? You know?
Can't.
But those who
or
can,
just my therapist said Jesus wept.
Huh?
That's it.
You
Jesus
bring in
wept.
Jesus, you lost me.
Jesus. I'm not religious.
Religious at all?
Oh
Me?
yeah. What's your thoughts on God? I never asked you about that.
I'm spiritual. I believe in a supreme being.
Okay.
You know,
Mhm.
I just don't think that the universe was just created organically. I mean, like, I
Mhm.
believe in a supreme being. I was raised Buddhist. You know,
Oh,
That's
okay.
dope.
so I believe in the cycle of life. I believe in like reincarnation and stuff like that.
Nirvana.
But
What is
like,
it called? Not Nirvana. It's called
reincarnation.
the last level when you like
Moksha.
you don't come
Moksha?
back
Something
anymore.
Well, I mean,
something
you
like
stop
that.
returning.
I never got into all that technical stuff.
The
you know?
point of no
Like,
return.
I remember the most religious I was like, I think I was like 9. We lived in this haunted house.
Oh my god,
And then
that's hilarious.
all of a sudden, my parents got super religious. They're like, okay, sit down. Here's some beads. Just repeat after me. You know, we started doing these chants, and we were on our knees, just like closing our eyes, doing these chants.
Whoa.
And I only pieced it all together in the last 10 years that, you know, that house was haunted, and like they just wanted to be left alone by these spirits. I mean, I'm opening up Pandora's box right here, saying all these crazy shit, but
Hey man, look.
I
This is
believe
your
in
experience.
the
This is your
spiritual
experience.
world.
Exactly.
This
yeah.
is your
Yes.
experience.
I'm only
Yeah.
laughing because like I've known you for like almost a year now, and then like out of nowhere, you're like, I grew up in a
Supernatural.
haunted house. You know, what I'm saying?
Supernatural experience.
Dude, so I mean, we sold that house was so weird, you know, like the doorbells would ring. It was in Utah, fresh snow, no footsteps,
Yeah.
you know, like cold drafts, less dimly lit room. Like me and my sisters would like guard the bathrooms when we had to go use the restroom at night. You know, I'd
Yeah.
wake up my sister, hey, can you guard the bathroom? You know, like,
Oh,
it
it's
was,
my shift.
it was creepy like that, you know,
Yeah.
and
Poltergeist
Oh,
patrol.
that's
we
real
didn't
life.
last 6 months in that house.
That's but these are real experiences that you had, you know,
Yeah.
and being a kid in those situations. Now look, this is just me being objective about it. I feel like kids are a little bit more open to spiritual interactions mainly because they just had minimum interactions, period, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
They don't
crazy
know
you say that. Why do you say that though?
because because kids have more of an ability to imagine and they have less experiences with like this life in general, so they have less evidence to disprove the supernatural occurring. So given the right element and the right environment, you can I mean, have you ever seen Pursuit of Happiness, Will Smith?
Yeah.
You remember he's like with his son and he
Mhm.
he sleeps in the subway restroom. He's pretending like the outside world's like they're in like prehistoric Earth where dinosaurs are roaming around, and they kind of like get into the bathroom, pretend that the guy trying to get into the subway restroom where he was sleeping with his son was a dinosaur. For that moment, for the kid at least, right? The kid is aware that this is not a dinosaur outside the door,
Yeah.
right? But he also is aware that his dad wants him to believe it. And so the kid does want to believe it as well. And I feel like for the kid, he actually was, for a second, he was able to really be in prehistoric Earth with dinosaurs. More so than the father, at least, because he's got all these experiences. He's really just trying to protect his son. He's trying to keep this guy out from the bathroom. He knows he ain't in fucking Jurassic Park. He's a long way from that shit, right? He's broke. He's at his lowest of lowest, but he gets to be there and make it fun for the kid. That wouldn't be fun for an adult. He was not having fun. The kid was. That's why I think
Yeah.
they're more open to supernatural experiences if you can induce them. Like if you're like, hey, this is like, you know,
Mine is open.
exact. Like the pet cemetery is really creepy when you're a kid.
Oh yeah,
Especially if you got pets that die, like it's
Yeah.
really creepy. But as an adult, you can kind of like moonwalk on the pet cemetery.
R.I.P.
You know what I'm
Nori.
saying? Like you can seen
Yeah.
bird. You know how much
Oh,
roadkill
RIP.
you done seen? I just
Yeah.
drove past a dead raccoon today. I'll moonwalk on this pet cemetery right now.
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna happen, right? You got evidence, you got other experiences to draw from, but the kid don't have that. So when they get on the pet cemetery, they see the raccoon's hand being like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? It's scary for them. Exactly.
But I hear that all the time. It's crazy. When my son was young, he was like 9 years old. He was like, that man behind the tree, he keeps me up at night.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And then you're like, oh fuck,
And
motherfucker
we're
from Utah's
like,
back.
what man? You know, like, but we didn't chastise him for that or make
course
him
not.
feel bad. You know, we just like, it's okay. He's outside. He's not bothering you. Later on, we found out that the tenants on the bottom, their daughter, who was of same age, would complain about the man behind the tree too.
Is there a pedophile in the neighborhood? That's what it sounds
No,
like.
there was a dark spirit back there. He was
Okay.
because every time I was back there, it felt eerie. You know,
Yeah.
there's a feel like you go into a place where someone passed away too soon before their time. You feel something.
You know what's so crazy? I did not expect that from you, Vu. I did not get the supernatural vibes from you. Cause I have minimum, and I was raised Christian. I was raised in the church. My grandmother had me in church every Sunday up until I was like 12, old enough to say no. But I was for a long time like all in, right?
Sorry, time out. What do you mean old enough to say no?
I feel like my grandmother kind of gave me the keys to the crib when I was like that age. She was kind of like, all right,
Yeah. My parents are the same way.
you're old enough to like make your own decisions. If
Yeah.
you want to go to church, you can, but I'm not going to grab you by your collar anymore. It used to be that way. Like she used to like, I used to not like it. You
My
know, it
parents
wasn't
were the same
enjoyable
way,
all the
bro.
time.
Yeah.
So I would have to go. But I reached that age and I feel like she kind of gave me a little bit more space. And she was kind of like, all right, be your own person a little bit, but you know, still come in for Easter and all of that jazz. So I got a little bit more space from it, and I was one of those people who were all in. Like I was like, God is real, Jesus is real. I got saved, I got baptized, I was all in, but I didn't practice it and I didn't understand it because I was being drugged there. You know what I'm saying? Like if I wanted to do this on my own accord, I probably would still be into it. But because I was drugged there, it just kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. On top of like having going to school and all of that, it was like, yo,
institutionalized.
this is a lot, bro. I don't want all of this. But I wanted the supernatural interactions too. I heard stories of people seeing angels and catching a Holy Ghost in church. I was like, I want that. Like I want to see God. Yeah, let me get close to it.
Yeah.
Never happened, bro.
Yeah.
Never happened. So that I started to like not really believe in supernatural.
Yeah.
It kind of pushed me away from it. I was like, man, look, seeing is believing. If I don't see it, it ain't real. Then I was coming across crazy statistics like 40% of Christian Americans believe that angels are legitimately people with wings that fly around. Yeah. Like these are things in the physical.
Damn.
High number, right? I was like,
that's pretty high.
That's way higher than I would believe, right? Yeah, in the physical, really.
That's a lot of
If you ask me on national TV, do I believe that there is a entity on this planet that is human in form with wings, with a halo that flies around anywhere that anybody has seen? I would say no.
Okay, let's go around the table, Lance. You believe?
Oh man. Here we go.
No, I've been thinking about yes or no, goddammit.
Oh, is it yes or no? Fuck you. I won't give you a whole explanation. It's funny that you say that because when I'm laughing at shit, I ain't laughing in judgment or nothing. I just like one of those people that's like, it's just funny like from an outside perspective because like, first off, I too have had quote unquote supernatural experiences when I was a child. But check this out. I realized in a later point in life, not to say this is necessarily the case with you, but like I realized it was just like my deep fears because when I was a kid, I was actually like one of those kids that was like super scared of everything. You know what I'm saying? Whereas it'd be like I'd be the kind of person where it's like if the lights are off downstairs, but then like I gotta turn all the lights off. There's like just the stairway light on. Like I'd be like, okay, start stretching and shit, start breathing. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna turn this light off. I'm gonna sprint upstairs so the monster doesn't get me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'd be one of those kids, you know. And I was also super terrified of dolls because I watched Chucky.
Yeah.
And Chucky fucked me up, bro. I had this nightmare. To this day, I still think about it. Where it was like, there was this woman, I think it was maybe my mom pushing a stroller or something, and it was like she was walking on Chucky's body, like, but the head was disconnected from the body, and so she was like walking on it like a treadmill or some shit like that, and then like Chucky was like gonna murder me basically, you know? So I remember this one time I had this incident where like my sister had this like doll, and it was like laying at the top of the stairs, you know? And I was like ready to, I'm one of those people that always tries to conquer their fears. Still terrified of roller coasters because I almost fell out of one, but I've tried multiple times since, and I refuse to go on roller coasters. It's not going to work. It's done for me. You know what I'm saying? But like this doll incident though, this did help me, okay? So I saw the doll at the top of the stairs. I don't know how old I was, maybe like 10 years old or something. And I grabbed the fucking doll and I look at it and I look it straight in the eyes and I'm like, you're not real. And then like I had this moment where the doll like came to life and it said like basically that it was real and it's gonna murder my family. And I grabbed the doll and I fucking chucked it against the back wall against like the fucking, I think at that time I was sharing a room with like my brother and my sister. Like we had a bunk bed set up or something like that. Cause we always had somebody staying in the house, so it's hard to remember. But like I fucking chucked it against the wall and I ran back downstairs. But then like after that incident, I realized like dolls ain't real. You know what I'm saying? Like
even when you imagined it,
even when I imagined
it was the most real for you,
it was so real for me, man. I was terrified. Like, and I was so inside my head that doll came to life and said it was, you know, possessed by a spirit and was going to murder me. And I chucked it against the wall. And actually, my friend's wife, she's still terrified of dolls to this day. And she's like in her mid-20s. And she's a super intelligent, super like, she's the breadwinner in the family. You know what I'm saying? She fucking was a baller and shit. She will not fuck with dolls. Like, we walked by a doll thing. She was like, no, we need to get like across the street from this. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So like, I totally agree with Ronnell's assessment on that situation where it was like, I was just a wildly imaginative kid and also had a lot of fear like deep inside of me. Mm-hmm. So like, I was able to fill these blanks with like these things that may or may not be true.
Exactly.
Second experience on top of that in regards to religion, my parents actually tried to get us to go to church for a while. And y'all know me at this point. Y'all know I'm not very institutional in that sense. And even as a young kid, I was still very not institutional. You know, so like I remember we went to I think it was a church over here in North Park actually, now that like I think about it. And it was like virtually, it was an all black church and we were like the only white family, maybe like one of two white families there, you know. So it was extra fucking like emotion, spiritual, and just like you felt it, you know, which I did appreciate at some level. It was real cool, like the sense of community and everything, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But then there would become this point in the sermon where it'd be like kids, adults separate, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
good old Sunday school.
Yes,
wow.
Dude. They put us off into the separate Sunday school, and I'd be one of the non-black kids in the fucking sermon and shit. And they put on these fucking cheesy ass cassette videos of the story of Jesus Christ. It'd be some washed out actor. You could tell this motherfucker probably drank before he fucking rolled up on set and shit. Just like playing this role for Jesus, and it's like low production quality and everything. And at that kind, I was kind of like a precocious kid. You know what I'm saying? Like I kind of like really knew what was up before people knew what was up at that age. And I was watching this video. Everybody else was like, whoa, Jesus did this and that. And I was just like busting out laughing, dude. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are we doing right now? Like all of us, everybody here is like super convinced by this. Am I the only fucking kid here that's like, this is fucking stupid? You know what I'm saying? Like I would just be busting out laughing. And I remember this one time, this was when I was really done with church. Because my parents, they kind of liked church, especially my dad. He wore it, dude, because he spent most of his life in the Navy. And he had a lot of black friends and shit who also convinced him to go to church and shit. And he loved suits. And he'd be rolling up on Sunday like this.
Fresh,
dude,
nice.
fresh.
Sunday's best, right?
Sunday's best. My dad had a fucking purple suit, a full purple suit with alligator shoes, bro. The only white man in church rolling up in that whole outfit and everything. That's the kind of setup that was going on and everything. So, you know, people knew what was, here's the family. You know what I'm saying? Here's that one odd man out family. Oh, by the way, the son's laughing at the fucking Jesus Christ fucking videos during the fucking kids fucking Sunday church shit. So my mom comes to pick me up from the Sunday, like the little Sunday setup or whatever. And dude, it was so funny. I'll never fucking forget this shit ever in my life. Fucking, so my mom comes picks me up, and then the woman who's in charge, she's like, "Oh, this is your son?" It's like, my mom, the little Mexican woman and everything. She's like, yeah, this is my son. What's wrong? And of course, I got this a lot growing up in school and church and any institution. There'd always be a concerned individual, a leader in that community. They'd be like, "What's wrong with your son?" This was that moment. She and you know how adults do it. She's like, "Oh, let me talk to your son." And all they did was just like turn around as if like my ears became broke after like they turned around and shit. You know what I'm saying? I just want to tell you that I think your son is possessed by the devil. And then I was like, even as a kid, I was like, this motherfucking bitch, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? And she's like, yeah, he was laughing at the videos. He just really has a hard time accepting the message of Jesus Christ. And I was like, in that moment, I was like, God's not real. God's not real. This motherfucker don't know me.
Because she was speaking it. Look, she was speaking in the name of something she had no clue. Maybe she didn't agree with what you were doing. But like, come on. As a kid, yeah, that's something you don't want to admit. Because like, as a kid, we think that, you know, all of it's connected. We don't see the nuances of religion and how everybody's still pretty much individuals trying to communicate or trying to commune, if you will, for one specific purpose. We see it as, oh, this is how it is. Everybody knows what's up with God. No, everybody don't know what's up with God. It's a big cat.
Yeah, that cat prowls out here. It's good though. I bet you that motherfucker keeps the rats away. There's big ass raccoons too that come around here, and coyotes. But anyway, yeah.
But there's a place for religion, right? I mean, we're at the lowest point in our history where people simply do not believe, right? And
outside of maybe like the cavemen who didn't even have a conception of God.
And now the order is flip flopped. You know, your own personal beliefs is bigger than religion
than everybody else. But there's a place for religion in this society, and I don't want to say it's like served its purpose, because I feel like religion isn't something to be summarized. It's something to be experienced and lived. There's a lot of knowledge passed through religion, through religious stories, religious texts, and they're all kind of they all kind of correlate, even across religions. They kind of tell the same stories, and as humans, we absolutely love stories, and I love literature personally. But this is what is so important about it. This is what kind of changed my perspective about religion at like 24. The information that is passed through a story is compressed. It's like taking thousands of years of information and condensing it down to just a story you can tell to someone, to convey a lesson to be learned over what was gathered over a course of these amount of years. You know what I'm saying? So like the biblical story, Moses, right? You don't think Moses really parted the waters, because it's very hard to, right? It's very, very hard to. But I feel like, although I don't understand what exactly occurred, I feel like there's something to be learned in the metaphor or analogy being used by parting the sea. What do you mean he parted the seas? I don't read that and go, he literally parts the seas, right? I read that and go, something else happened. Maybe he orchestrated a fleet of boats that looked like a bridge from one land to the next, and it looked like that's what, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like information is compressed in these stories, and like a lot of people take them to be literal and to be like of miraculous things occurring, but they're actually like very like they can be explained in this more so for artistic value and are in to condense information that is being like
Right.
conveyed.
I mean, you can always write, "Hey, this is the real Bible." Keeping it real Bible, like Dave Chappelle.
But that would be too low, because if it's everything is spelled out and everybody knows every single detail, now we get to move the details around.
Right.
But if I keep the details, the crypto keys, if you will, if I keep the details away from you and I just tell you the shell of the story, now you got to figure the details out, and it makes religion more interesting when you look at it that way, because now it's like a mystery to be discovered and not really something to be killing people over.
Dude, we fight over words, like the literal meaning of words from the Bible, right?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Like you guys, the three of us would read one sentence, and each one of us would interpret it differently and create our own, church based on that
Interpretation. Yeah. It's crazy to me.
What was the real true meaning?
Yeah.
There's people wanting to individualize and faction off, if you will, from the herd, the bigger snowball moving down the hill. They want to make their own little snowballs because there's still a human element to all of it, which is power, which is the same thing that's in politics, the same thing that's in the finances. It's not free of, like, just because it's religion doesn't mean it's free of human interaction. And when you start, like we were talking about earlier, organizing people, and now you don't check that that organ or that whatever is being assembled, it could get out of hand, and it has religion's got out of hand more than anything.
Multiple times.
It's one of those things where, like, and that's what people don't trust about it, is because they're not willing to just go unchecked. They're not willing to allow anything the ability to go without being checked. And when people move with God, they like to move without being checked.
Yeah. What do you think it is about power that human beings are so drawn to? What do you think causes that desire for power? Because I got my own theories. Me and Vu talk about
I got a theory about that.
Oh, you got a theory too?
Yeah. It's just homogenealogy. We want everything to be the same. Like, think about it. Like, you want your race to be the same. You want everybody to be the same religion. You want like-minded stuff. But like Darnell keeps going back, you need to check that. You need to check it. Because not everyone thinks like you. Not everyone should think like you.
Yeah.
But that's what people want. They want everybody to think like them. They're like a little child, like when a little kid is mad, what they're going to do? They're going to make everybody else mad because they want everyone else to feel like them. That's like a very low level. But
Go to an ice cream shop, and while it's crowded, say the least desirable flavor on the menu out loud, and people will react. You'll see them react. You'll see them react with their face. All the time. You'll see them react with their face. Somebody might be even inspired enough to speak out against you and go, "Wow, you're brave." You hear it. People have to, bro. Like, when you make people uncomfortable and that what you were talking about, Vu, like, they don't really want to share the opinion because they don't want to create any waves. Sometimes, like, just making decisions makes waves regardless, right?
Yeah.
The color you decided to wear today might make a wave, and depending on what neighborhood you are in, if you are in LA, just, it's like where you are, environment, like, you're going to make waves, man. Like, my skin, the color of my skin can make waves in specific states in this country.
Yeah.
So, like, we kind of witnessed it on our trip when we went up to Washington and Portland and Oregon and shit. Like, somebody was immediately speaking out on the Mexicans flooding into America, not knowing that we had someone Hispanic with us, and he's half Hispanic,
he thought it was
right?
White, yeah.
He thought he was
a forest ranger,
he just
bro.
let it loose, bro. He just unprovoked.
Yeah.
Nothing to, like, go off of. Man, these Mexicans are sure flooding our streets. Bro, this is unprovoked.
Yeah.
Why?
But that's his.
Well, actually, we were talking about traffic and getting angry at traffic, and then he's like, and them aliens is like, ooh, I don't think he knows. But you know what? I didn't get angry or nothing. I just kept talking to him because I was really trying to get, like, As I was telling Vu about this too, like I have a thought about like anger and sadness. It's like I think most human beings, not all, don't have a predisposition for like those sort of like perspectives and outlooks. Usually they stem from like a moment or a collection of moments that cause them to have that psychological makeup. You know what I'm saying? If they're pessimistic or angry, particularly angry. And so been around a lot of angry people in my life. I've been angry myself from time to time and shit. And for that particular individual, like he was saying all this like gross ass shit. But you know what? I just stood my ground, just be like really trying to get at the root of it. Just like here on Bitter Melon. You know what I'm saying? Just like what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? And never got to that point, you know what I'm saying? Because like he just kept talking. I was like, just basically just trying to hear him. Because clearly this is somebody who felt like they weren't heard or whatever.
It wasn't heard.
And
he wanted you to hear him.
Exactly. And I think he was really resonating. He's like, yeah. And then all of a sudden he sees like my black and Mexican friends whirl around the corner. I'm like, yo, what's up? And then immediately I saw him just like duck his head, put his hat down, and just like disappeared. And I was like, yeah, that was a racist guy.
Okay. So I got a question for you guys. So with like there being every reason in the book to kind of like not speak to each other at this point, especially if you consider yourself I guess a successful strong adult in this economy in America, like people really kind of stick to themselves and they don't really want to figure you out. They don't really want to know more about you. What could be the biggest reason that changes like in the future? Like what, because we weren't always like this. We didn't always communicate with each other like this. It wasn't always as hard to talk to each other or to talk about anything. It was a time not too long ago where we only could talk to each other. So like moving forward, do you see it becoming more of like a we just talk less and less and less, or do you think that something happens or something is created or there's a reason or anything why this would change for the better and people would come together to find out these things about each other more? I have an idea, but I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Yeah.
You can kick it off.
I mean, like, I love that personal growth. I love that sense of community, you know, just knowing, you know. Let me take it back to, when was it? Second grade. I was scared shitless of black people.
Second grade does sound like a shot.
I was scared shitless of black people.
He was scared of black people in the second grade. It's time for a shot, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
My
Bitter Melon time.
My first bully was a black kid.
Oh, there it is.
Tell me what you really see when you see me.
Yeah.
I'm just
what do you really see?
Maybe it's a little bit of Stockholm syndrome where I ended up sympathizing, you know, and I'd be like, you know, there's more to this dude. Like, why is he projecting all his anger on me?
Yeah,
you know
like most bullies, right?
Yeah.
But like, I'm never going to learn about anyone unless I talk to them, or unless I'm curious, 100% curious about their life story. I mean, I learned so much from you today. You know, and I'm very appreciative from like your background, how the world was shaped in your mind from your environment. You know, like, yeah, you're right. Like, there's no reason why we should all be talking to each other. But ain't it better? Ain't that a better, you know, outcome? I mean, this is great.
Yeah, this is.
It's enriching. You know, we're breaking down barriers, breaking down stereotypes. I mean, I love that. You know, isn't that what like culture is about? Like just sharing each other's cultures. Like, you guys fuck with Asian food.
Yeah.
You know what?
That's
dope for me, man. Like, when I was growing up, I was like, I don't know if I should bring this to school because all the kids are gonna make fun of me. You know? But
little
now,
did
like,
you know, did you know, you've been the coolest motherfucker in
we
school.
needed that.
We needed to make rolls and we didn't even know it.
Imagine if you went to my high school and we had like some type of situation like that. It'd be like neck bones, collard greens, barbecue ribs, rice.
Rice is universal, baby.
Yeah.
Rice is universal.
I can tell you one thing, like, we did not eat a lot of rice growing up. Not to the extent that I eat it now. Like, now that I'm more like, I feel like I love Asian food so much that I've incorporated like some of the cornerstone pieces in the culture of food into my own diet. Like, so I eat rice a lot, like way more than I did as a kid.
Yeah.
That shit was kind of unheard of as a kid.
Right. Did you have any Asian friends?
No, hell no.
Wow.
Literally the only Asians that were in St. Louis, they all own restaurants.
Hey, fitting the stereotype.
Hey.
No. I'm not bullshitting you, bro. I didn't even know where the children went to school at. Like, I don't know. Like, they would literally be at the restaurant and just disappear. They wouldn't even. I wouldn't see them at church. I wouldn't see them ever in you would never see a Asian at the grocery store. You trip. It would be like seeing a fucking. I don't know if you played Pokemon growing up. It'd be like seeing like a legendary Pokemon. Bro, like literally, like you would only see them at their establishments.
They
like,
get my Master Ball out.
it's like they would like not even like drive home or something. They would just like poof and be gone. Like it was that.
Right.
Yeah.
So like I didn't have a lot of interactions with.
So what were your stereotypes?
Stereotypes, bro. Look, stereotypes. I loved anime growing up, and I loved karate movies. So those two big things kind of like drew me into, I don't want to say biases and stereotypes, but that definitely was my introduction to what the culture was and like what it was about. And I mean, watch Jackie Chan movies and Bruce Lee movies, and then watch, Toonami, Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, Inuyasha, like all of these like early 90s type of anime. And like, I don't know, man, I just fucked with it all. I fucked with like the delivery of the art. I fucked with like the dumbass, I fuck with that, bro. I fuck with that as a kid. And then like, Jet Li starts coming around. He's doing like even crazier stunts. He's doing Bruce Lee would only spin once on the roundhouse. He's spinning twice. It was like crazy. So like that was my introduction. And then I really didn't like start understanding it until I was like, way older, old enough to appreciate it, you know. But that was definitely, I guess, stereotypes would be like the accents. I feel like that everybody kind of mocks the accent at some point in their life. Even if you're Asian, I feel like you still are subject to even making a mocking of your own accent, right? What do you guys call it? Fob? Fresh out of the boat, right? I got Asian friends now. I got Asian friends now, so I'm in the mix. Like I know the lingo. Yeah. They'd be like, oh, he's such a fob. Fuck. Like I get it now, but like back then I didn't,
Yeah. That's funny because I feel like the most Asian impersonations I've heard is from Vu, to be honest.
Wow.
I feel like they do the best. I feel like they do the best impersonation.
It's like, I'm not fucking Chinese.
Exactly.
Do I sound like...
Exactly.
I need a shot before I respond to this.
Yeah.
There you go. Cheers.
It's the breaking stereotypes.
Breaking these stereos.
Or fulfilling them. Because sometimes when you break them, you're actually fulfilling them. It's weird. It's a science.
And I'll tell you another thing that got me that drew me more into the Asian culture. Like there was lines beginning to blur between karate, anime, and hip hop. And they started to blur quick in the early 2000s. And I was like, oh, I felt like I wasn't alone. Like I wasn't the only black person who took privy to what was happening with Asian entertainment. Like, like the karate movies and anime. It was not something that was, I felt like I was the only kid in my school. I would keep it secret. I'd be like, I don't want to tell people. I'm like, yo, I'm watching this, I'm watching that. No, man, I couldn't because like people would be like, you a fucking nerd. Like,
so you wasn't like Bruce Leroy?
Loser.
You know Bruce Leroy?
I know who Bruce Leroy. I know who Bruce Leroy is, but I thought it was when I first seen like him. I thought it was just like a mockery. Like I thought it was like supposed to be funny. Like, haha, how funny would it be for a black guy to do these things? I didn't take it serious because it didn't feel.
And it was funny.
It was supposed to be funny.
I never took offense to it.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Funny. Bruce Lee wouldn't have me laughing when I watched Jet Li movies. I was like, oh, he's about to kill him.
Yeah.
This is serious. It was never like, oh, hold on. I'm getting a phone call. 1 second.
Oh, okay, yeah, no worries.
Yo.
What about you, Lance?
What
are your Asian stereotypes?
Asian stereotypes? It's funny. I actually grew up around a lot of Asians, so like I never really had a lot of stereotypes necessarily. I feel like I was pretty much in the know because I grew up in military housing, so like I had a lot of exposure to cosmopolitan culture.
All right.
Like I had a lot of black friends, I had a
I
lot of
can't hear
Asian
you. You're
friends,
breaking up.
a lot of Hispanic. Like, so for me, like
I can
like
ride
that's
with
why I get
Are you
more
going there
surprised
now?
when I hear about them, because like when I was growing up, shit was just always normal to me. I always felt like normal
Shit.
at some
It's
level when I was in a
Sam's
situation
not
where there's
there,
like a
is she?
bunch of mixed cultures and everything. But I guess like if there was a stereotype, if I were to dig deep down based off like my interactions with like my friends and everything, strict parents. You know, strict, high expectation parents
Yeah.
that are kind of like reserved with their feelings and everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Regardless of which Asian it was, Filipino, Vietnamese, Chinese, fucking Japanese. There's just always like, between like the parents and the kids, there's always like this filial sort of like pressure. It felt like that everybody was trying to like work around, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially the Americanized kids, they'd be where like the individualism is like more fucking prevalent and shit. They'd be like more, there'd be more contention between them and their parents, because there's always like some sort of expectation about, you know, marrying a certain person or getting a certain type of job and everything. So that was the sort of stereotype I've been around, where it was just like there was like Asian parents were like strict and had certain expectations. If you didn't meet them, then it would cause a lot of like friction within like the parent child relationship. And maybe like also materialism, you know, like they all fucked with like, which is funny because I feel like American culture and Asian culture are very similar in that sense. Like they both Asian and American culture would be like, nice car, hell yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like immediate props, you know what I'm saying? Nice shoes, hell yeah, immediate props, you know what I mean? So like I guess those would be those two stereotypes of Asian culture that I would probably like, if I met an Asian person, those are two things I guess at a subconscious level would be like, that's what they fuck with. You know
Okay, well, I mean, if you landed on these shores back in the mid 70s, and then in the 80s, it was all about materialism. American Express, champagne, brand names. That's how you're going to assimilate, right?
Yeah, some level, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to be accepted. I mean, you're a yellow person in this country. How are you going to get accepted here?
Yeah.
You know, you got to acquire all these things.
But see, you know what's so funny is like in the black community, it's the same way. Like we're external blingers. That's what I call it. Like, and you see this across like cultures who are either trying to assimilate or just are minorities and have a hard time, like, you know, finding value within the society. They cling to external things. They don't really like value. They start to value material things more than they value themselves. So we kind of see it and I mean, it's deep in the black community as well. So like on that level, I feel like that's where kind of the lines cross between white, black, whatever. Like if you take privy to nice things, then you're going to take privy to other people who like nice things.
Yeah.
Because that's who they're doing it for.
Yeah.
It's kind of why they do it. Because there's filthy rich people who don't give a fuck about anything they drive, where they live, none of it, you know, with every end to meet, every expectation, you know, and they don't care about those things, but because they don't value them. It's like to have nice things or to be rich doesn't mean you automatically have nice things. You also have to still want them and seek them and know what is a nice thing. You got to learn the environment. Oh, this is this car. How does this car compare to, you know, the new Ferrari or the new Lamborghini or the new whatever? Like you kind of got to put yourself in there. And I think that like external blingers are found across all cultures, you know?
I always find external blingers as somebody with lower self-esteem, lower self-worth. You know, like I mean, I think I went through that at one point in my life.
Yeah, I think I did too.
You know,
for sure.
Because at the end of the day, that Ferrari is going to take you to Vaughn's as my Honda Civic. You know what I mean? It does its job, right? And then when you get to that point in your life where you're like, well, it does the same job. Do I really need to spend that extra money? You know?
Yeah. It's funny. I have a question for both y'all because, like, I also grew up with parents. I know y'all know that I'm not materialistic.
For sure.
I got a janky ass car, a jalopy. That's Michael, who's still banned and everything, who termed it and is right. I got jalopy. I got like one nice pair of shoes. I know it's my only nice pair of shoes because Ronnell, whenever I wear them, is like, oh, you got your nice shoes out. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it ain't for like a shortage of material wealth being presented to me early in my life. Because actually, I grew up in a family that's very materialistic. Both my parents, very materialistic. They like nice cars.
Purple suit, alligator shoes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Because they grew up poor. And so when they finally made it, they were just like balling out, you know what I'm saying? And they wanted to share that with us because that's their way of showing love and everything. Like I'd be getting like flooded with like material wealth on like Christmas and everything. And I'm not saying this like in an ungrateful way. Like I do appreciate the fact that I had the opportunity for that because the thing I learned over the years is I don't really care about it. You know what I'm saying? It just like for me, it just didn't resonate. You know, like we'd have all these awesome things. We would like they would always make sure like to always give us material things and everything. But like at some point I ended up like it's like exposure therapy or like when you get inoculated for like some sort of disease, you get exposed to like the disease or some shit and you just become immune to it. It's just like I realized from those experiences that like that shit, like what you guys were talking about, you know what I'm saying? Like early on, like my parents would be trying to get me to, they'd be begging me to dress nice to go to school. You know what I'm saying? They'd be like, please wear this Sean John or wear this Nautica or wear this fucking Nike shit. And because I guess maybe they felt, I don't know what it was. Maybe they felt at some level it was a reflection on them. You know what I'm saying? And I'd be like, no, I'm just going to wear the same sweaty white t-shirt, wrinkled, crinkled shirt to school every fucking day and the same stupid ass red shoes. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that was my rebellion shit.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
I mean, this shit has been happening since the beginning of time. This isn't some like, and this is one of another big theme for me that runs true throughout my life. I feel like nothing is new. Everything is just being done over.
Yeah. Same but different.
Yeah, like when I see things that I don't necessarily agree with, I just imagine them in another time, kind of trying to like displace them and imagine them like, how would this look in colonial times? You know what I'm saying? Before all this, what was this? What was the transition? What was the because
put the
humans
wig on.
Because if you look at it, humans we haven't changed since then. Like behavior wise, we're still the same. We just have all of these tools and different infrastructure set in place now, but we're still operating under the same thing. So like back then, like I guarantee he was a nice guy with nice robes. Yeah. Didn't want to wear a nice robe. I mean, literally one of the biggest religions ever was started that way by one of it's Buddhists, right? The prince who was very wealthy and stepped away from all of it. And it's like, nah, I don't want none of that shit. And he just became a homeless person. Then he becomes this then he becomes like this all-seeing eye because of it, right?
Yeah. Well, no,
not
because
to like,
he
not to like,
saw
the
suffering.
You're not no God, Lance. You're not no fucking God.
I ain't no Buddhist. I ain't no God.
Well, he saw the suffering in people.
Exactly.
Like, he lived a very elegant life, luxurious, where people were waiting hand on foot for him. And when he got out of the walls of his castle, he would notice like the commoners struggling, you know, just for an everyday meal. He would just see the struggle.
The everyday struggle.
Yes. And it's like there's more to this. So that's why he meditated to reach to that level of enlightenment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I was
just gonna say like that's kind of along the same lines. Like you still recognize, I'm sure you still recognize the wisdom in taking a shower and having clean clothes and like.
I'm grateful for.
You know what I'm saying?
I ain't trying to be out in no jungle trying to prove a point.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I like hot showers.
Yeah.
I like taking a shit in the
Exactly.
toilet. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like those are things I'm grateful for. So I think just with my parents, perhaps it reached like what I may consider like the egregious level because we were the quintessential American, bro, of excess. We ate shitty food all the time because we could. We had way too much bullshit than we needed. My mom's like a hoarder at some level. She does have a lot of cool shit, but it's like so much cool shit. It's like
this is a lot.
This is a lot. You know what I'm saying? Overwhelming. Like I feel cluttered. My mind just feels like I can see why you're like your mind's all fucked up a little bit. There's too much physical shit in your perception. You know what I'm saying?
But you know what's crazy? If you move something, I bet she would know.
She would know.
You're like, what are you doing?
Exactly, she would know.
Where's
She's
my
like,
thing?
Yeah. Where's that random ass shit over in the back of that drawer?
Yeah, exactly.
That like, remember that shit? I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, clearly she's attached to it. But the question I have for y'all was like, why do y'all feel? Because I know I personally don't necessarily feel the same way when it comes to material wealth. You know, I don't know how it came about that, but it just like kind of came about. But for y'all, like y'all seem like you're in more of my like parents' headspace. Like, what do you think? Like, is it about external blinging that it brings you some sort of whatever it is to drive y'all to notice those things, and not only notice them, but to like at least at one point in your lives pursue them. You know what I'm saying? Like actually resonate with them.
Dude, at one point, I felt like it was justification. And I mean, you were justified for spending $200 on a pair of sneakers, you know, because it brought you this like cultural identity that
social currency.
Ah, there you go.
Spend
Yeah,
money
like you
to
get props from your
form of money.
peers. And nobody asked how you got that.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, my parents are on food stamps or whatever, but they get like $800 stipend, so they spent it all on my sneakers.
Yeah.
You know, like no one ever bothered to ask that question.
The story behind the like to see a certain pair of shoes on a child in a certain environment, it does kind of like you can call a question, right? Like imagine a painting of Section 8 housing. There's a pimp on the corner with his prostitute. There's gangsters on the basketball court. You know, they're arguing with each other, jewelry on, you know, whatever. There's black women talking to each other, fraternizing, all in each other's face. You know, got short clothing, very provocative. And then there's this 8-year-old boy with a $700 pair of Jordans on his feet amongst it all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
if you just stop that frame for a second, like what's happening here?
You said it.
What the fuck is happening?
Hey, everything's miserable, but those kicks are flying.
You know what I'm saying, bro? Like, like stop the
Yeah.
frame for a second. Let me figure this thing out because
Zoom in.
there's a lot of
are those 97s?
Oh, those they are. And you know, like, and you, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why he had them on for you.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
He had them on for you if you knew, bro. He did.
I mean, you're super influenced by your environment in your teen years, right? We all know that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, like, in my teen years, like, the brothers was the ones that was rocking all the nice Jordans, and that's what you wanted to be, man. You wanted to be one of them kids that rocked the nice Jordans and
because they were cool.
FUBU. I don't think y'all remember FUBU. Cross colors.
Yes.
Oh my god, dude.
I had a FUBU jersey.
Oh,
I'm not too young for that.
what you know about cross colors?
I don't know nothing about cross colors.
Shit.
What you
Yeah,
know
I just
about
aged myself.
Enichi? I called it E-Nice.
You know, yeah. So you guys were more the Sean John era, right?
I was a little after that.
Little
I was
after
more
that.
into
Well, I mean, we're the same age, basically.
South Pole, Ed Hardy, things like that was starting to come around.
Oh no, Ed Hardy.
Ed Hardy, bro, you
See,
remember
I mean,
that?
it was black culture, and then all of a sudden, Ed Hardy was like, "Hold on, we're still here.
Hold on.
Let me give you some colorful ass T-shirts."
Yeah, you like American tattoo art? We're gonna give you a lot of it.
Yeah, but I mean, we all fucked with that shit, right?
Yeah, we did. I mean, it's not to say I don't like nice things now. I just find my little pockets for it, cause like I understand that I don't need the nice, the 5-star fucking kitchen knife.
Yeah.
That it's like $300.
Cutco.
But it cuts steak like no other. Like I don't need that. I'm cutting steak.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Like what is that gonna really cost me in the next 5 years if I just purchase this $6 knife that's gonna pretty much cut my steak?
Oh, don't say that to the restaurant owner. He knows the difference. He knows the difference. He's like,
Here we
whoa,
go into
I don't
nice
know about
things.
the knives.
Here we go. Here we get into the real materials.
This is gonna cause me to drink straight from the bottle.
Hey, but look though, I have to be real here. Look, I didn't expect this would go this long because I was supposed to be picking Sam up at 1.
Oh shit.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
It's about that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't want to cut the podcast. Sorry, it seems like a really good conversation.
We can do part 2.
Yeah, we can do a part 2.
PT2.
Dude,
PT2,
because
yeah.
Ronnell, man, like you broken down so many walls for me today.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah,
Straight
just
through. I still ain't
Hulk
told y'all
smash,
what
bro.
I was bitter about.
Exactly.
So maybe we
I
can
was
get that
just
in
about
part
to say.
2.
Oh, that's on part 2?
Yeah.
Part
I feel
two.
like, man,
Yeah,
we
let's do
bled
part
out,
2.
man. Like, I didn't want to, like, dive right into it when we first started. I was going to say something. Like, I ain't really gave much thought to what I was bitter of. So, like,
Yeah.
catch me at
Dude,
the end.
I think we were all very well. I'll speak for myself. I was a little bit apprehensive because, like, you know, like I do have a lot of biases and stereotypes, and I think other people have that towards me too.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's just great to break all this shit down.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I don't see you and what I think of you only. I have to be open-minded, right? Because there's this thing, like, I can't move around a person like I have them figured out because they're liable to show me that I don't have them figured out. And I don't like surprises like that. So I just, like, automatically like to be open-minded. So, like, I don't get caught off guard. I don't give a fuck if you like cats, bro. Like, you know, like, if you got 8 cats at your crib and you never told me, I want to be open to that when I show up to your house. I don't want to freak out like I totally didn't take you for a cat person. I just looked at you and I knew that you like dogs like I like dogs.
Yeah,
but when
yeah.
I came to your, you know, and then like that would just make you react very wildly. Like you had to be open-minded to people no matter what they think of you or what do you think of them? You know, you still have to be open. You don't have people figured out. And that's why relationships, you know, I'm not even gonna get into all of that.
Part 2.
Is this all?
Save it.
Oh,
part 2.
we were talking a couple days ago. We were talking about relationships. Like this is what we're trying to get on the podcast. We didn't get to that point, man. How about this? How about like a little sneak peek about what you're bitter about? You know what I'm saying? Just to maintain a consistent theme within these episodes. You don't have to give a full elaboration. You know what I'm saying? Just a little snippet. Because also Dallas, we also got to do part 2 with him as well. You know what I'm saying? Because it's hard to capture a whole human being, even in a 2-hour conversation now.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. That's why when he was talking about the Bible, consolidating everything down and summarizing it, I was like,
He's gonna be here
Jesus
all day.
wept.
Jesus, I mean, but
Jesus
look,
wept.
it's a joke. It's impossible to do that. It would be like taking like fucking tetrabytes of information and trying to just get it across in one bite.
Yeah.
One fucking bite, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
It's too much information. We're not, but you know
or
what?
not enough information.
Okay, I won't give you what I'm bitter with because I got to give some time to it.
Okay,
But I asked you guys a question that it never got back around to me yet.
Okay, what was that?
I asked you guys about communicating and if it would get better or worse in the future.
Okay.
One of the tools that I believe that would change everything is a communication device that could break down languages and and extract the meanings of what is being said and give it to us in the way that we would understand them the most, right? So like if you said something in Vietnamese, it could mean multiple things, but if I understand them, then I only get one layer of what you're saying.
there's a movie.
I just know what you're saying, right?
Oh, there's a movie.
I can read what you're saying. That's me
Joy Luck
understanding
Club?
what you're saying.
Lost in translation.
But if I felt what he was saying, like somebody would who spoke Vietnamese their entire life, now I get that layer 3 understanding of what he's saying. Now I'm not just like I don't get to get the words out. I get to get that and the emotion and put them together and truly understand. If we had a device that could do that, no matter who you are, no matter what language you spoke, whatever you were trying to get off, somebody could feel that, bro, that would change the way we communicate with each other fucking forever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because now somebody could
I can finally date a woman.
Yeah, exactly. I can finally speak in this bitch's language.
That's what you meant this whole time.
It took a fucking quantum computing device implanted in my brain to understand what the fuck you were thinking.
We've been searching for this device forever. Ronnell, you got any ideas, man? I'm sure Elon would love to hear it.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like that's the next level to this communication thing. Like just getting what we want to get off without having to go through the jumps in the rings of fire of languages. Because there's certain things that even I want to communicate in English sometimes, and I just don't have the words readily available.
Well, I mean, I think we're doing that, right? I mean, like, we have to know your upbringing, your background, like how you process things to really understand the current you. You can't just say something like just off-putting, like, the system is suppressing me.
Who the fuck are you?
Right? Like, what's your background? Why you say that? You know? And this is it. This is the vehicle for it.
Yeah.
Conversation.
Yep.
Imagine if I said one thing that and you were able to understand what I was saying from my perspective. That's crazy. That's next level communication.
Yeah.
That's kind of intrusive too, because like,
oh, there it is. Yeah, it is.
I'm like,
now you're getting into the spiritual realm where you just feel it. You don't even listen and hang on to keywords. You just feel it.
Yeah, exactly.
You feel the tonal. You feel the
It's a color. It's a color to it. Like he's feeling kind of angry. He might be a little orangey today. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a mood. It's a whole thing to it. And I think that that's the next step in technology communicate. Like finding that medium to kind of make the quick communications like more felt and more effective.
I already got it. It already exists. It's existed since the dawn of time. Music.
But everybody can't walk around singing. If life was a musical, I'd probably shoot myself in the face.
No, it ain't about that, but that's the sphere. That's the piece of technology that exists. That
but who is
human
singing
beings.
your life story?
Michael Bublé.
David Bowie.
David Bowie. That's another one.
Hey man, I gotta go, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Yeah,
Coming.
we'll do a part 2. We didn't get to the bitter this time, but that's the consistent theme. All right, we bid you adieu, Bitter Melonians. Catch y'all on the flip. We out. Peace.
Peace.
Oh man,
Man, that was
that was
great.
good.
That's some good content, man.